Today's episode of Kevin Pollak's Chat Show is brought to you by Audible. Go to audiblepodcast.com/KPCS to download your free audiobook.
You're not wrong about that. Hello, how are you? Kevin Pollak's Chat Show, back in your face, or just your ears, whatever the case may be. Thanks for joining us today. We're pre-taping because my guest is very, very important. And he'll be working on the Emmys telecast live. He'll be standing in the wings live, making sure the damn thing's funny.
Bruce Valanche.
Well, better than Bruce Valanche is the hope, because Bruce stands there literally like, you cannot pass the bridge unless... but we're hoping for great Emmys with Jane Lynch. How could it not be? So we'll get to that shortly.
I don't know, it's on Fox.
What does that mean? It won't be funny because it's on Fox? Oh, I see.
Come on, the Simpsons can make fun of Fox. I can't.
Yeah. What happened to Sam Levine? What was that I just saw? Sam? Yeah. Excuse me,
He's
sir.
not Jewish.
Sir? What are you doing here?
The Arab has taken us over.
Ladies and Jews, this is Jason Antoon. We've talked at great length about our work together, and he was a guest on this show back in the 70s.
Guest number 3.
Guest number 3. Who else was on that show?
No one cares. Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. That's right. He got all the ratings.
Elon Musk revealed the secret. He revealed that one secret. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it was suddenly a news day. Hello, Dr. Antoon. For 127 episodes, you've been saying, is Sam okay? Is he going to make the show this week? And then this week he couldn't come?
Well, Sam's been unemployed this long, so finally, apparently, has gotten a job, so I'm able to
Nothing will endear you to his heart more than to sit in his chair and take a shot at his nuts.
They had to adjust the camera for me, so.
We are on the taller cam. Is this the taller cam? I'm working the crew now at this point. Well, Mr. Antoon, thank you so much for sitting in and joining us, and you'll help with Who Tweeted later, and we're excited about that. What's new? What can you tell us? What's going on?
I have a child.
I'm sorry? It sounded like you said you have a child.
2 months.
2 months old.
2 months old is my child.
And his name is?
Holden Quinn Antoon.
And what did he weigh in at birth?
7 pounds, 4 ounces. He was 21.5 inches long.
I don't know whose joke it is, but there's a reason that number doesn't get calculated throughout the years. You know, I came in at 7 pounds, 4 ounces.
7 pounds, 4 ounces. Now he's 14.6.
You're saying he's doubled in size?
He's doubled his size. We went in for his 2-month shots, which is like craziness. Where he's like laying on the table.
Not procreated, please explain.
Oh, if you haven't procreated, 2-month shot is you get all the different shots at 2 months, so you can basically bring your child out in the public.
Out in the public.
Oh, okay. This is why you've had a quarantine tent over the
Yeah, you sit in your house for 6 months, not 6 months, 6 weeks,
right.
7 weeks, and doing nothing but going to Ralph's and Trader Joe's and bringing
And you have
back.
to put things on your hands before you touch your own
Yeah, people come and visit you. You have the Purell.
Oh, no, we came. We visited.
You guys came.
We came for the viewing, and you squirted us on entrance and squirted us on the way out. It was lovely.
Kevin never held him.
Nope.
Neither did I.
Only Elaine.
Only Elaine.
Elaine?
Elaine did a good one.
He loved Elaine because Elaine's...
What is that? What's happening?
Who's bouncing him on her
No, it's bouncing. I don't mean Elaine's
bouncing
bosoms.
on her ample bosom? Is that what that was?
So anyways,
I resemble that comment.
Cut to we get the 2-month shot, 2-month-old shots. No, 2 month. Why am I saying this wrong?
I don't know.
But shots at 2 months old.
They stab his knees.
They give him a little liquid. I think it's a rovovirus or I don't remember what it was called. It's a liquid, and then 3 shots in the little chunky
calves.
Marshmallow
The
thighs.
thighs.
The thighs.
Why?
His Stay Puft Marshmallow thighs.
Because he doesn't have veins yet.
Doesn't have veins. I think it's because it's just marshmallowy. So finally, my wife Shauna is looking down at him, and the nurse is over here, and he's all like, "Oh, what are we doing? It's cold." And then finally, he's like, and looking at Shauna's eyes. So now anytime there's any pain, is going to associate it with the mother, and the father is videotaping it. So he's cute, though.
There's no way this has anything to do with therapy bills of the future.
No. But I never thought I was going to have a child, and now that I have a child, I've never loved anything more in my entire life.
Other than me.
Other than Kevin.
Well, thanks for sitting in.
Yes.
I understand, although Holden's only 2 months old, he's already started working out?
He's already started working out, yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Now, again, you mentioned
Well, he's
that
a Hollywood baby.
he's a Hollywood baby. He's got to be on a diet. He's already
Yeah.
sticking his finger down his throat for no reason.
Yeah.
And you mentioned he's got those cute little thighs, but apparently they're getting too big or something?
Yeah, I told him you got to do, if you want to get rid of the thighs, you got to start working out. So, and I have it on tape.
You have a clip?
I have a clip.
Did you bring a clip?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the clip of Holden and Toon working out. Here we go. That's not cute at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Now there's music playing in the background normally. We couldn't afford the rights. But normally there's music, right? And then he just says, "You know what, Dad? I'm kind of done."
Now he's floating like Yoda.
He just made a face like I'm making.
Yeah, he crapped.
I don't know what that's like in the Arab family, but in the Jewish family, literally the child, and that's how you know they're shitting.
Well, when I start feeding my baby hummus, then he'll
Hummus?
make that face.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
On all of it.
Thank you.
And thank you for sitting in. You know, there's responsibilities here we'll come to later, but for now. Jamie,
Yes.
is it weird not having a Jew next to you, but in fact an Arab, the counterpart?
Well, the thing about Sam that drives me crazy is he always reads over my shoulder and he's like, why'd you write this? What are you doing?
You don't appreciate the scrutinizing?
So I want to see how much Antoon scrutinizes me.
Well, now that you've mentioned it, either A, that's all he'll do, or A,
But
that,
I have no chat. It's not live, so I have no chat room. So he can't really.
now he's wondering what the fuck he's doing here.
I know.
You just killed the story. Don't you have something to report? Didn't something magical happen yesterday? At the El Capitan?
No, you saw The Lion King for the first time.
You went to the El Capitan for the first time.
Yeah, but you never saw The Lion King.
All right, fine. We'll get to my shitty part of the story, but you got to go to the El Capitan. How was that? Wasn't there a dancing Simba?
Timon, the meerkat.
Oh, the meerkat, right.
Nathan Lane's character. Yes, there was a dancing Timon. No, it was great. And I want to go back for The Nightmare Before Christmas in 4D.
4D.
Because there's special effects.
In the theater.
In the theater.
They're going to snow on us.
Snow and fog and Tim Burton-y goodness.
We're going.
Yes.
Tim Burton walks across the screen at one point and waves awkwardly.
Large Marge comes out. No, that's a different movie.
4D, that's going to be exciting. That's very exciting.
Oh, and yeah, and Halloween time started at Disneyland yesterday, so I have to go next week. That's my favorite time of year.
Well, it's the best time because Tim
It is
Burton
the
throws
best
up
time.
on the Haunted Mansion.
He does.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's the greatest thing in the world. All right. I want to say thanks to Aaron Carr. We've exchanged emails, and he won, I think, the Larry King game. Sent him his T-shirt, and he sent a sweatshirt and a water bottle and a beautiful hat from the USS George H.W. Bush. This is the maiden voyage of this particular vessel that he's on. And we couldn't be more proud. So thank you very much for this, Aaron Carr, and I will wear it with tremendous pride. And you know what? Send me another one. I was trying to figure out while I was being sincere, how could I possibly be a dick? And it almost came out. All right, I did want to say, apparently we've switched our RSS feed. For those of you around the world and out at sea, please resubscribe for the video. I don't want to name names or point fingers, blip.tv, but there's too much manual going on, so please resubscribe. We did have a proud sponsor. I don't know if you saw a little blip at the top of the show. Audible.com. Audible has the largest selection of digital audio books available for download with over 85,000 titles. Audible has the best narrators interrupting. I always say that every week. The best narrators interrupting books by top authors. That doesn't make any sense at all. Try reading it again, monkey. Audible has the best narrators interpreting books by top authors. Now it makes sense. My recommended book of the week for you is This is a book by Dimitri Martin. Go to audiblepodcast.com/KPCS to download your free book. I repeat, the fine folks at Audible, because they are now a sponsor of the show, are offering you a free download. That's right. Just go to audiblepodcast.com/KPCS to download your free book. Thank you to audible.com. We asked a while back for you folks to tell us how you are, in fact, ingesting the show. Are you watching? Are you listening? Are you what? And we're starting to finally hear back from peeps. So how we consume the show. This one is from Karen Kavi, or Hi, I watch using my Apple TV device. I love that it's a device, not just Apple TV. By using my Apple TV device and flat screen TV. It says large flat screen, and if you have a 27-inch flat screen, kill yourself.
It's not large.
Or open a hotel. I was using my Apple TV device and large flat screen. A robot wrote this. I watch with breakfast to start my day with laughter instead of depressing news on CNN. Keep up the good work. Oh, that was from Peg Baltz? No, that was from the Cavi. All right. This is from Peg Baldsman. Kevin, I so prefer to watch the show live. I curl up on my couch with the laptop on the coffee table. I look forward to watching the show sideways on Sundays. That's the name of my third book. But I have to tell you that I have issue with the lack of notification of time changes. It is annoying to find out when I tune in at the scheduled time, only to find out the show time changed and I missed an hour of the show. Or I go to tune in and find that the time changed to a later time, only to fall asleep waiting for the show to start. I rarely find time change information. God, I'm a horrible reader. Rarely find time change information on the website. Are tweets sent out? Crap, I'm not tweet savvy. Hate to miss you guys. Thank you for free podcasts again.
No, the problem with the tweets it's one of those things where it's so timely. Like if you don't see that tweet come in within like 5-10 minutes, it's lost in your
Yeah, I mean, Elaine Ewing, our social media genius executive.
This one?
That's Elaine rocking your baby on her ample
Elaine
bosom.
rocking your baby.
On her ample bosom.
It's a waterbed. No, I'm kidding. I love Elaine.
You're cursing him in the other room. She's like, I'm hungover and I don't want to deal with this.
So she's kind enough to put all these changes on Facebook, and I tweet it up as much as I can, but you're right, it is frustrating at times, especially if you're not doing the Facebook or the tweeting.
Elaine's threatening to come in here.
But keeping in mind that we launched this show and the only marketing we used was Twitter. The only marketing we've ever really used was Twitter. I would say get the fuck on Twitter, honey, if you're going to follow the show. But that's not fair of me. So I'm going to say get the fuck on Twitter, honey, if you're going to watch the show. All right. Much thanks to Adam Richman for our little 2 minutes on Man vs. Food. Apparently that aired Wednesday because I couldn't have gotten more fucking tweets on that. We've asked you also to write us questions. If you want to know something about us in particular, this section of the show is called Ask Kevin. Ask Kevin. She did not sing Ass Kevin. Ask Kevin from Pitch Black. Hey, Kevin, have any of your impressions changed over the years as your voice changed? Or perhaps when you're sick, becoming more difficult or perhaps better? It is true, and I'll talk to my guest because we were talking off camera a little bit about his trouble with Larry King and what it did to his throat. It is true when I'm sick with a cold, my Sylvester Stallone is flawless. Yo, absolutely. You know, when you get that thing, and suddenly everything is Stallone. You know?
I sound like Demi when I'm sick.
That's true.
I do, because I have that raspy voice.
Which reminds me that Demi's voice is very, very sexy for a day and a half. And then this question from Howard. Nope. I always think Howard Hawk. It's Robert Hawk. How are you? Long after growing up with Adam West's work, I respectfully miss a chance to approach him. Oh, I missed a chance to approach him after he had paid his lunch check and before he had risen from his table. I wanted to meet him, but did not want to intrude. So for Ask Kevin, I ask, what is the protocol for respectfully approaching a celebrity? We, the fans, would like to know. We want to be cool fans at the same time. But at the same time, privacy and ambition always conflict. Thoughts? A very respectful question. Very respectful indeed. I think that it's probably an individual thing, and I feel like if I give you advice on what's best, you'll use it, and then Jason Statham will rip off your head and shit down your neck. As much as I don't want that to happen, I'd like to be there when it does, I think is what I'm getting.
I can give a tip.
Please, honey.
Know who the hell you're talking to. Don't go up to the person and be like, what do I know you from?
Hey, you. I went to school with you. Did I go to school with you?
If you're going to approach somebody, go on your fucking smartphone and look it up first, at least. Or don't come over at all. That's what annoys me.
The worst is, what have I seen you in? And then you're like,
yeah.
I go, no, what have I seen you in?
My answer to what did I see you in is, I'm sorry I wasn't with you when you saw it.
They go, you an actor?
And then they get mad and then they scream at you.
Tell us the story again at the airport. We're walking through the airport.
No, you're in a Starbucks at the airport. I'm standing outside with the luggage. This guy comes up to me and is like, what movies has your boyfriend been in? And I said, a lot. I don't know what you've seen. He's like, just tell me what movies he's been in. And I'm like, a few good men. And he's like, thank you. Was it that hard? And walked away.
Best fan possible. Wish I had him on the show now.
Oh, my God.
What a piece of shit. Also, major props and thanks. There's that we're done with the Ask Kevin. Major props and thanks to the fine folks at the Pita Pit, Zach and the gang down at Hermosa Beach, if you're everywhere near there, folks, and around the country for that fucking matter. Check out the Pita Pit. They got some great stuff. And this chapeau, you're wondering? You betcha. Gurin Brothers. Get yourself a Gurin Brothers from my hometown, San Francisco. Go online, you son of a bitch, and look them up. They got beautiful hats, and not terribly expensive for handmade hats. I'm just saying, under $50 in many cases. And lastly, the Larry King game. We have a winner this week. It's been several weeks, and we have a winner. In 27 minutes, I'll introduce my guest. This Larry King come from Jeff Sawyer, Mount Horeb, Wisconsin.
Wow. I didn't even know there was...
A Mount Horeb or a Jeff Sawyer?
No, Jeff Sawyer, but Mount Horeb?
Horeb. How would you pronounce it?
Horeb.
Yes, of course.
Like an
I'm sorry. I left out the terribly Jewy and/or Arab version.
That's where Moses.
Mount Horeb.
That's where Moses went.
Moses came down from Mount Horeb and said, "There were 12. I did some editing." All right, now because no Jew would ever actually share what happened. If you want a lovely Kevin Pollak's Chat Show T-shirt, simply write in your version of the Larry King game. Here's this week's winner. It's brief, it is to the point, and it made me laugh. My back has one skin tag for every state in America. Tahunga, California, you're on the air. I love every square inch of that. Usually they're long and flowery. My back has a skin tag for every state.
Is that the shortest one, or have you heard?
That is the shortest one.
No, are these all 50 states, or are these the states that only like Larry King recognizes? Because he's like, fuck Alaska and Hawaii.
I never heard Larry say fuck Alaska and Hawaii. It might have been a Sarah Palin thing. All right. So there's our winner for this week. Congratulations. If you want any part of that, write to contact@kevinpollackschatshow.com. Again, that's contact@kevinpollackschatshow.com for Ask Kevin, Larry King game, or tell us how you consume the show. My guest today, unbelievably exciting. We have made efforts over time to make this happen. That's all I'm going to say. And today's the payoff. So here's to that. I've been a big, huge fan for a very, very long time. Have quoted him on this show several times, and I'll tell you when and the context. Whenever anyone says something about a horrible comedy club that they played in, which many of our guests have over these 127 shows, I always think of his dead-on interpretation of the name of a comedy club, because they all have the worst names possible. And his name, in fact, it may be apocryphal now. I may have changed it over the years because I've been dining off of his brilliance, always giving him credit, for some 25 years. From when he said, oh, you played that club? Yeah, you should play the one that I just came from. What was the name of it? Uncle Fuck's Chuckle Hutch. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana Gould.
Thank you. Uncle Fuckers.
I've been fucking it up.
Uncle Fuckers Chuckle Hutch.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another great one that I never did. Sir Laughs a Lot was one. And there was a really funny comic who became a writer named Paul Clay. Who
love Paul Clay.
Yeah, you know Paul Clay. Paul had a great observation, is that when you walk up to a one-nighter and the sign out front and it says Comedy Night, N-I-T-E, illiteracy will be the theme of your evening.
Count on it. Count on it.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I've been so difficult to get a hold of.
Listen, you know what?
And yet I'm doing nothing.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll get to all the nothing you're allegedly doing. Let's go right to the hot...
My career is stalled like a biplane in a steep climb. I'm sorry.
In putting together your dossier, the reference, speaking of references, the references to Dennis Miller, who I love how Dana Carvey once reduced Dennis Miller's entire act, if not career, to topic, reference, indifference.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
To his face, by the way. I'm not telling tales out of school. Topic, reference, indifference. Wow. Yeah. We, I think, originally met in San Francisco where you cut some serious stand-up comedy teeth.
Yeah, that's sort of, I started out in Boston,
Right.
but I sort of became a good comedian in San Francisco.
But you had the thing with me,
I hope.
according to your dossier, that you started at 17 in nightclubs.
Yeah.
Like right out of high school.
2 weeks out of high school, I did my first open mic at a place in Boston called the Ding Ho.
The Ding Ho.
Which was
Please
a
share.
Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
With a comedy club in the front.
Well, I booked Boston over 25 years ago, the connection and
Right.
whatnot. And somebody said, well, you got to play the Ding Ho while you're here. And I said, sorry? And they said, yeah, you got to play the Ding Ho. I said, well, what is that? They said, oh, it's a Chinese restaurant. I said, stop talking. Turns out,
2 weeks before, just in the month before I first performed there on June 17th, 1982, Stephen Wright was discovered.
for The Tonight Show.
For The Tonight Show.
Literally 2 weeks before,
and
in that room.
Yes, and he appeared like the following week for the first time ever. The weird thing is, he got discovered this way. Peter LaSalle, the producer of The Tonight Show, was in Boston looking at colleges for his son Tom, who was getting ready to go to college. While he was in Boston, he just said, hey, let me see who you have. Let me see who was in town.
Right.
Saw Stephen, picked Stephen. Stephen, career took off. I mean, it was a legendary appearance on The Tonight Show.
Yes, it was.
And he was on the following week, which
Right.
was unheard of.
Unheard of.
Oddly, that kid, Tom, who did not go to Harvard,
LaSalle,
LaSalle, now my manager.
shut the fuck up.
Isn't that weird?
So that's beyond weird.
Yeah. Ironically, that man, Tom LaSalle, owns a Plymouth Duster. 3 by the knee. They don't make them anymore. We don't make anything. No, but and it was a legendary. I remember the night obviously very, And in comedy, you always remember your first time. In sex, you try hard to forget it.
Yeah.
But
I've been trying so hard.
me too. I was thinking of it a lot when you said there's been too much handling.
Yeah, well.
Any comedian that's toured knows what you're talking about. But it was Lenny Clark hosted, and all these Bob Goldthwait, Don Gavin, Stephen Wright, all these. They were an amazing group of comedians in Boston.
There were truly extraordinary comedians at the time there, Goldthwait, but I remember
Jack Gallagher.
Jack Gallagher, huge, who played the Doctor on Curb the first couple of seasons. But Lenny Clark seemed to be the kingpin at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time seeing his act thinking, I will never see anyone funnier than this.
No, and he is one of those guys, and this is the thing that Boston, created, is that you really had to be, and Kenny Rogerson, who was a huge influence on me.
Right.
I stole stuff, never material, but I pillaged his
Stage
essence
presence.
mercilessly.
Yeah.
It's a really rough town. It's like Liverpool in a musical analogy. It's a really rough town, Boston. I was trying to explain to people what it's like. People who haven't been there, they think, oh, Boston, it's just Harvard and MIT. And like, no.
Yeah.
And I was just telling the story the other day. I was on a date going to see Broadcast News.
Wow.
Walking down Commonwealth Avenue with Mary Beth Begley.
I'll
who I had
say.
a date with. And car drove by, and this guy just looked at me and said, "Fuck you, queer." I was just like, I'm with a guy with a girl walking down the street. What? What? Why?
You can't even do the math
Yeah.
that gets you to.
No, no, it's true.
There's no bridge.
There's just a bridge, just hostility.
No connective tissue.
But to do that, you had to be a really strong comedian because they didn't. Unlike when I went to San Francisco, it was like getting into a hot tub, because we've read the 3 comedy newspapers this city has to offer. I'd like to hear what you have. It was so insane.
Yeah.
Because in Boston, you're literally like trying to talk over the fight.
Yeah.
And as a result, Lenny is the T-Rex of that town where there was nothing else going on in the room than him when he walked on stage.
Yeah.
But that doesn't translate to The Tonight Show, David Letterman, like that kind of cool performance. So that's something that I had to really, for myself, sort of take my act apart and walk back 10 miles and figure out how to do it in those shows.
Right. Yeah.
To what I'm proud to say, to mediocre effect.
Well, of course. How did you decide, while thriving in that environment, other than wanting to escape?
Oh, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I grew up there, and I couldn't wait to go.
But San Francisco in particular.
San Francisco in particular, because
You were chasing a skirt.
I love cock. No, I love just let that be the one clip.
One clip. That's the Carl Pilkington loop.
Dana Gould found dead. We remember him now. I love cock. Dana Gould, 1964.
File photo.
No, 2 things. I was really good friends with Bob Goldthwait and Tom Kenny and his these other guys that followed him out to San Francisco, and I did, oddly enough. I met a girl who lived out there, so I thought, well, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And
So you killed Tom Kenny and the girl.
I killed Tom Kenny and the girl, and it was just great. It was. I wanted to go to Los Angeles. I didn't want to go to New York, and I just think that came from being from the East Coast. I wanted to go to L.A. And I knew that I didn't have enough money. It was a very calculated thing. I'll move to San Francisco. I'll establish a little West Coast network. I'll get have enough of a road schedule that I can live, and then I'll move to L.A.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did.
How long were you in San Francisco?
I only lived there 2 years, but I performed more in San Francisco after I had moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, of course.
You've
You've established a foothold, and everybody wants you to come back.
Yeah,
My
they
first
all the time.
couple of years in L.A., I could only afford to live in Los Angeles by going back to San Francisco every 6 weeks.
That's exactly what. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing between San Francisco and Boston, and then this American Southeast, where I did a lot of road work in the late
Your
80s,
Florida,
early
if you
90s.
will.
Your Carolinas, your Florida, the Chris DiPetta Ron D'Annunzio. How would you like to get paid, white or green circuit? if you know what that
Oh,
is.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, the 80s.
Green.
How would you like to get
Green,
paid, white or green?
That's.
I had not heard it
happened.
put that way.
No, that was. And neither one of those gentlemen ever said that to me, but club owners down in the Carolinas, and that was a common. It was again it was the 80s. It was, but it was it was going on the road when you're 23 is great. It's awesome. I had a blast.
I don't know that people have that perspective, actually, or that it's even been discussed in detail on the show. What were some of the first things that you saw out there in the great wide world?
Naked
as a
waitresses.
young comedian. I see what you're saying.
Naked waitresses.
You found strangers to sleep with.
Yeah, that's the 99.9% of it.
But what about...
Then food, clothing, shelter.
Well, yeah, you are a male. You're heterosexual. But in terms of audiences in towns with accents you're not familiar with, and seeing how the act translates from
because I
to
came
region.
from Boston, I was able to do that with a fair amount of ease because I really did. If you come up in San Francisco, that's a terrible place in a way because you're free to develop an incredibly unique, specific act, like that
Jeremy Kramer?
Yeah, that it's not weighed down by the meat and potatoes demands of just being able to stay on stage in a front of an audience.
You can be a
is not
true
into it.
original, unique, and a
Yeah.
snowflake, and they love you for it.
Right, but-
whereas the rest of the country wants you to get to the joke.
Yeah, exactly, and that's well put. The snowflake is perfectly put. But because I came from a
Get to
place
the
where,
fucking joke, queer.
yeah, it's like if could you just make your abortion not as noisy? I have to finish this joke. It's like somebody's repainting car parts. There's someone's performing a cat abortion. That'd be better.
I love this. See, people don't appreciate a good abortion joke.
Yeah.
I love abortion and miscarriage jokes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we'll work on the latter.
Yeah.
We got
Hilarious miscarriages.
we need to punch up the few we're working
I can't
on.
believe that musical closed in a day.
I know. It's weird.
I guess
We'll get Trey and Matt on it. See if they can't make it
Right.
sing.
So I was, but it is in a way it's depressing because you're in Greenville, North Carolina. Nobody's into what no one is into what you're into, and you're just but that is when you're 23 and you sort of live out your little beatnik fantasy and that sort of.
Are you focused on the act much, or is it just an adventure?
No, I was very focused because I knew I wanted to be a stand-up since I was like 14. So for me, it was
Right.
I was very, very into it.
I assume you've read Born Standing Up, one of the all-time great
Yes,
books,
yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah.
So here's a guy who, Steve Martin in this case, goes on the road to literally redefine what kind of act he's going to do, and only discovers how to do that act by putting in his 10,000 hours
Right.
in front of those strangers throughout the country.
Yeah.
So that part I'm curious about in terms of finding your voice. Because at 23, you're still a smartass, even if you started at 17. Your act is leaps and bounds, light years ahead of where you started, but you're still 23.
You're still 23. I mean, I was a very effective entertainment for a half an hour.
Well, you're supposed to do an hour?
No, I mean, when I was middling on the road, and then when I was headlining, and then around.
Effective meaning?
I was good, but I could fill the time. I could keep the audience's attention. I was entertaining. I was not intimidated by because I came out of a cauldron, so I could do the job.
Right.
In terms of being a comedian, in terms of doing something, that didn't happen until about 1989.
Right.
And without getting into too much shop talk, and it's Kenny Rogerson, who I mentioned from Boston, figures in this story in two different ways. You can't be a good comedian until you can't know who you are on stage until you know who you are off stage.
Yeah.
And for me, because I was raised pretty much unsupervised.
6, 7 kids.
Yeah.
Irish Catholic.
Irish Catholic, yeah. The fifth of 6.
How many of you don't have shoes on?
Yeah, the
That's
fifth of 6.
Half of your mom's job.
I was the only sober person I knew
Within miles.
including like my brother's friends, my parents' friends, the other half of the duplex that we lived in.
Right.
It was just it was Angela's ashes. I mean, it was just, and I did not. And I grew up in a very, very small town. There were 52 kids in my graduating high school class.
52.
52. Hopedale, Massachusetts, the world's most ironically named town. Yeah. And, I literally did not have social skills. I literally did not know how to behave, how to talk to people I didn't know, how to meet people that I didn't know. And Kenny Rogerson has said this about his when he was clean. Now that he's clean, he would say, like, I meet people that I knew when I was using. I meet people I've met when I was using, and I just apologize and walk away.
That's the first thing.
Yeah, and I'll steal that, and I say, I meet people I knew before I was 30, and I just apologize and walk away. But around
Because you were socially inept, or because you were trying to figure out?
I was like always on and I was always 100.
That's when I met you.
Yeah, I was like I was like the sun on the Raisin Bran box. Just like I would just just all the time.
I remember thinking he likes Coke.
Yeah, I've never done it.
Right.
I've never done anything.
You were just high charged,
I was
high
just-
energy.
It was pure. It was a laser of need.
Well,
a photon torpedo of need.
Of need. Well, I like to suggest that we all suffer from "hey, look at me" disease from a very early age.
Yeah.
Who choose this profession, whether we had support from the families, however our stories vary.
Nobody
from
becomes
there.
a comedian because they have their shit together.
Right.
Yeah. Here's another thing you don't often hear. Now that I've worked through all of my emotional issues, I'm free to dedicate my life to ventriloquism. But I sort of discovered an in into the around 1989 just by the nature of doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And I finally I was in a relationship that sort of gave me some emotional support. I was sort of free to get into the stuff. I started to do the stuff on stage that I thought was funny.
Right.
You know, I stopped trying to be like a different comedian. It's like, how do I think that is funny? And I took, you know, like I could show you the math where I took like Kenny Rogerson's sort of love of darkness, like Gay and Wilson cartoons, and Albert Brooks's very conversational ease, like all of his stand-up on Comedy Minus One, which is the whole Richie Haven story is literally like what I took and just said, like, in the way that Paul McCartney says he heard the Everly. I'm not comparing myself to Paul McCartney, but the way he.
I'll do that.
Yeah. The way he took, like, you know, the Everly Brothers and Buddy Holly and was able to sort of retrofit them into what his talent, like that one monologue of Albert Brooks has really changed the way I performed, because it was just like he's just talking about something that happened to him.
Well, I wanted to ask you specifically about a time when the boom of stand-up comedy was dying, 90-91, and you were with like-minded stand-ups in the Los Angeles area,
Yeah,
Patton Oswalt and the like, and
that was before Pat. I know what you're getting at. That was before Patton had just moved to San Francisco.
in 1990.
Yeah, in the early '90s, there was two sort of groups. We'll go ahead.
No.
You're talking about like the alternative comedy scene, is that what you're saying?
No, the idea, well, in a larger sense, and giving it a name, of course, but the idea that you would go on stage, as you were just saying, and instead of doing the act, the patented, talk about politics, religion, and so on, I'm going to go out and actually talk about what was annoying the shit out of me 2 hours ago.
Yeah, there was a group of us living in LA. This is '91. I just moved. I'd been living in LA for a couple of years, and my friends here. I had my like regular stand-up comedy world friends, people that I had become friends with by middling for them in the late '80s. People like, it was funny. I'm friends with two different generations of comedians. I was really good friends with Kevin Rooney and Dennis Miller and Carol Leifer and Bill Maher and all of those people.
Because you middled for
Because I
them.
middled for them.
Right.
And was with them socially,
Yeah.
you know, all the time.
And your act was always smart.
And it was
relatable.
I was effective. Yeah, I was a plumber. I could fix your toilet, you know, sort of thing. But then there were my life friends, that were the people that I just lived with, and that was like Janine Garofalo, Kathy Griffin, Bob Odenkirk had just come to LA from working on Saturday Night Live. Ben Stiller, it was before his show had come on. He had just had a show on MTV.
Right.
And what we know, those are the people that I sort of lived with and went to movies with and hung out with. And we noticed that our audience wasn't in comedy clubs. This was right when stand-up had, as you said, the boom had reached its point of putrescence. And it was just kind of over. And the people that, comedy fans didn't go to comedy clubs, they'd been driven out.
Right.
By the sheer number of people with jackets rolled up to their elbows.
Yeah. There was an inventory problem.
It was an inventory. It was everywhere. You know.
6 shows on TV.
And, yeah,
and
it was
the
like,
evening at the Improv style. It's the same thing that killed
I'm from Buttonwillow, Omaha. We have 7 clubs.
I know. The same thing that killed vaudeville was the saturation of theaters in their case, or in our case, clubs around the country, where there was too many venues and not enough talent. It was an inventory problem.
Right.
And also, you had 6 shows on TV reminding you that there were far too many comedians who had 5 minutes you'd never heard of, and it no longer meant anything.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld tells a story about being in line in an airport, and somebody goes, this was back in the time when Jerry Seinfeld had to go to airports.
Yes.
Now he's like, what is that? Is that where they park planes? No, that's an airport, Jerry. But he was literally...
Why don't they call their pilot by his first name? Yeah.
He was in line at the airport, and this guy goes, "You're a comedian, right?" And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, my brother-in-law's a comedian."
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and then, was it him or Marr that broke it down further? Because I heard another variation of that, or maybe just someone was expounding. I thought it was Marr. In the early 80s, someone asked you what you did for a living. You said a comedian. They went, "Really? What is that world like?" By the late 80s, what do you do for a living? I'm a comedian. Oh yeah, my cousin's a comedian. He says it's great. And then by the mid 90s, what do you do for a living? I'm a comedian. Oh yeah, me too. You too. You too.
Oh, that's really funny.
You too. Who the fuck are you? What do you mean you too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So
where are you working? Who's booking that?
Right. White or green?
Yeah. And that was at the point where I would start every show with, and this will tell you about the clubs at the time. It's lovely to be here, although I have to be honest with you, I got into comedy so I wouldn't have to work at the mall.
Yes. By the way, there's still clubs at the mall.
Yeah, they're still at the mall. But I remember very specifically going to see Elvis Costello and the Rude Five on the Spike tour.
Wow.
At Universal Amphitheater. And I must have been with Janine, and I remember looking at the audience and saying, like, why aren't these people at our shows? Because it was just like, it was just us. It was
Your
just
relatable
like,
peers.
all the same. Everybody's dressed like us.
Right.
They were, and so it was really Janine, I think, started it. I honestly think it was her. That we just started going into, we went to this place called Big and Tall Books, which was on Beverly Boulevard. It was just like a hipster bookstore. And they had a little area upstairs. And we said, we're going to do a show at Big and Tall Books. And because that's where like our friends would hang out.
Right.
And there was a little coffee thing there. It was very much that early 90s friends thing. And we'll just do a show there. And we said, but to make it different, it was like, it came, you can't just do your act.
That's the rule.
That was the rule to give it, why is this a show?
Right.
Why, they can go to the Improv. They don't want to know. No, you can't do your act. It has to be new stuff. And there was some other weird like game show rule to it. And that was and that's how I learned to become a good comedian. And that metastasized into Uncabaret, which is a big thing in LA every Sunday night at this club called Luna Park. And that's when everybody like Andy Kindler and Paul F. Tompkins had moved to town. By that time, Patton had moved down to LA. And all my social group. Right. In the like 93, 94, 95. And that was really I think of it as a period of people in suede jackets writing on their hands. But that's really where I sort of became a comedian. To continue the Beatles analogy further, that was Hamburg.
It was Hamburg.
Like where I learned how to like what I did today. But an interesting just side note that's may be interesting to comedy fans, maybe not. That was the origin of having your notebook with you on stage.
Yes.
Because you had written it that day
right.
for the show that night.
Right. You wouldn't literally walk on stage and stream of conscious talk.
No, we certainly. I know Kathy did, and I know I did because we did it at the same place during the day. We work. This will work.
I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
You weren't there writing jokes and then reading them.
No, but somehow that became over the course of time. That became misconstrued as don't prepare to go on stage. Right. That became like, well, so what else is there? What else? No. Yeah. No, that's there. It's a show. Yeah. It's still a show. Right. But it was interesting to watch that get misconstrued.
Yeah, there was a funny thing happening with my generation of comedian, which is, I guess, the graduating class just in front of you, behind you, however that chronologically works.
Well, it was those people that, as I said, it's the class that I had my other foot in.
Right.
Because just
Yes.
to finish the thought,
The
the
Bill
weird
Maher
thing about
Seinfeld.
me,
Right.
I was the only guy from that group
It was straddling
that
both.
would also go to the Improv and do a set,
Right.
you know, and that would still go on the road and work at Tempe.
And so let me
Arizona.
ask you about that transition then, in terms of the freedom of expression, for lack of a better, that took place and became the Uncabaret.
Right.
And then when you played the Improv in Tempe, how long before you were bringing one to the other?
It was
Or just filtering in
It was
pieces?
filtered constantly, but I will say this with all false modesty aside, around like 94, 95, 96, for me anyway, it really clicked. Like what I was doing
Right.
really clicked. And I was able to take, you know, the thing that a lot of my my alternative comedy class didn't have at the time was just meat and potatoes comedy chops, because I had come out of the cauldron of Boston and had to work the Carolinas, that I had just the tools.
Right.
And then I was able to take the stuff that we were doing on stage and bring it. I had enough chops that I could do what I was doing in a regular club and sort of introduce it to a bigger audience. And I was
Do
strong
you
enough
remember
as a
those early
performer.
days of bringing actual thoughts back to the
Yeah.
Carolinas?
Yeah, and by that time I didn't have to go to the Carolinas, but I remember doing it. Like,
All right,
I
the
remember-
Comedy Works in Denver.
Comedy Works in Denver, Tempe Improv.
Yeah.
But you know, and of course San Francisco, which was just already there. But no, I remember going to the Tempe Improv, and I had bits where I would go into the audience and heckle myself, and long like theatrical pieces. But what it was I hadn't so much confidence, and because I knew what I was doing, that you could sell it, and that was, you know, I was. Again, I was good.
Yeah.
You know, those were really.
You were finding your voice.
Yeah, I was sort of.
And probably blossoming and thriving because of it.
As a performer, yes. As a person, I was miserable.
Well, please. That's assumed.
No, I have to talk about food. I have to talk about food now. I had a very unhealthy relationship with food, where after a show, I would only fuck food.
What a strange name for the club owner. To jump around.
I've never slept with a virgin,
And broken-
but I love to break the seal on a new peanut butter.
So that.
I don't know. That's a Hyman joke I've been trying to make work for 30 years.
Oh, I thought the part of the
I know. Yeah.
You're leaving out the penis dent in the top?
No, I've never actually done it. I didn't put that together.
Nobody wants to come back to that.
It's like the Terminator trying to punch through a steel wall.
To jump around, because there's nothing less interesting than chronological order.
Yes, and nothing less interesting than listening to me talk about how I came up with my act.
Oh, no. That's actually the great stuff. I feel as a host, I want to jump around and force us to mix things up, that's all. Jumping to the present of a fairly new creation called Carneyville, which Jamie and I saw, maybe the maiden voyage. Or
Yes,
what?
it was. Yes, it was.
And you've done at least one more,
Yeah,
possibly
we
two
have,
more.
and now we're doing 6. We have like 6 more planned every like 6 weeks.
You and Dave Keckner, and who else is involved in this?
It's a ragtag band of rebels. It's Jim Turner, Mark Fight, Pat Healy, is Eddie Pepitone, and then we're getting some comedians. These girls that I work with on this other show called Lucha VaVOOM, which is a masked Mexican wrestling / burlesque review that I participate in.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. And I work with these girls, the Poubelle Twins, and it's actually, you know, what it is it's the kind of show that during the time that we were just talking about, I would always see and go, oh God, I could never do that. Jim Turner, who was on Orlis and was Randy of the Redwoods, the original MTV mascot. He had a very, very brilliant stage show in LA in the early 90s called the Girly Magazine Party, which was a stage show version of Playboy After Dark. And he played Tellis Wondersuite, the editor of Jaunt magazine, and its sister publications, Slattern and Goo. And it was a night in the Jaunt Chateau where you can see some dangerous, I'm gonna not do it justice, some dangerous cats misbehaving, or just a weird, great thing. And it was just this very funny sort of variety stage show parody that was.
And who is the other one with him now doing the clowns sitting out?
Mark Feit, who's also in the Girly Magazine Party, because what you realize over the course of the Girly Magazine Party is that Tell Us Wondersuite, the publisher of all these magazines, doesn't know how to read.
He's illiterate. Fantastic.
And every time he gets something to read, he just hands it to Mark. But I would look at it and I was like, I want to do that. I could never do that because I'm such a stand-up. But finally, just Dave Koechner and I, as an actor, but we have a lot. We have a lot of stuff in common. We're both well respected by our peers, and then everybody else just asks us, "Why aren't you famous?" Every day. Every day.
Boy, that question never gets old.
Oh,
no.
God.
Can't get enough of that question.
Why am I a failure? Is that what you said?
I remember being out in L.A. 3 years, my brother on the phone saying, "You know what you should do? You should do the Tonight Show."
Oh, thank you.
Oh, my God. You should get on the Carson. That's what you should do. You want to be in show business. You've been out there in L.A. 3 years. Why don't you do that? My favorite one was when you just had to go, "Hi, Tonight Show?" Hi, yeah, Kevin Pollak. I was wondering if Tuesday's good for you. I've got tennis in the morning.
I like your use of props.
Thank you.
That was. Do you know what that was? I like your use of props.
No.
That was a complete rip of Albert Brooks in the Famous Comedian School.
Oh, God.
And I like the way you moved your hand.
Yes. I just showed Jamie the. There's a great YouTube video of him on the Flip Wilson show doing the
and National Anthem.
Thank
God for YouTube.
Oh,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the ventriloquist.
Oh, God.
Oh, Danny.
So
amazing.
Yeah, Danny, I'm going to light a cigarette. I'm going to have a smoke break. Why don't you talk to the people? And he drops them and lights a cigarette. Ooh. Yeah, all that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so anyway, long story longer, this is a show that is just, has no ulterior motive. It's, I did stand up in it, but I love the lowest rung of the show business ladder. I love carnivals. I love, you're talking about, it's Halloween. I'm a giant monster freak, Halloween freak, and I'm going to the Nightmare Before Christmas at the El Capitan. I'm going to, I go to Not Scary Farm. I go to Universal Studios.
Conventions used to be a thing.
Fango
you
conventions,
still go?
Sure.
Yeah.
I go to Universal Studios, but the best one I go to is the Haunted Corn Maze at Pierce College in Northridge.
Yeah.
Which is a cornfield maze, and you go through it at night, and people jump out at you.
Oh, no, we could never do that.
They're not
you would have a heart attack and die.
They're not allowed to touch you.
It doesn't matter. I got attacked by a Chucky doll last Sunday, and I'm still having nightmares.
It's the greatest. And
they're not allowed to touch you, just relieve you of your bowel.
Yeah, no, you can. Well, it's not that bad. It's certainly, kids can't do it, but it's fun. My favorite story is I was there with my other grown adult Halloween nerd friends, and we're walking through the maze at night, and this guy comes out of the corn and he goes, "Ah!" And my friend Rob Cohen, who you probably know, had some kettle corn, and he went, "Want some kettle corn?" "No, thanks." We all fell off.
I'm good.
But I love
and then
that.
He went back into the thing.
Yeah, I love that carnival, that Tom Waits, kind of like, one step above a donkey show.
Yeah. What in quit show business?
Yeah, exactly. I love that era, and so we developed this show that's sort of like, it's as if you saw a show at a carnival.
Right. Or a show of carnies.
Yeah, show of carnies, and I'm doing characters for the first time in my life.
And
really,
you're loving it.
It's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I don't do myself at all in the show. The one you saw, I was still doing myself. Now I host the whole thing as this one character named Cap to Haven who runs the carnival, And Cap, I was in the service. I did my time for my country. By being in the service, I mean I was a subject for the CIA at a test site where they were gauging the effects of sleep deprivation on people who were subsisting only on rum drinks. That sort of thing.
Jamie can't stop saying, after going to Carneyville,
"Oh, I'm a piece of shit." I love that. And Jimmy too. Jimmy, who is working outside, we love that.
Oh, I'm a piece of shit?
He was running the camera, and we just look at each other and we go, "Oh, I'm a piece of shit."
Yeah, from Clown Town. Yeah, these weird clowns. And yeah, this is the next one we're doing. There's a big face-off of three mind readers, mine, and then the two guys that are the clowns. There's they have a Kim Smith mindbender and Clorox, the world's only albino hermaphrodite mind reader. And
because it wasn't enough to be a mind reader.
yeah, no, but he will smell your past or your future. But it's completely ridiculous, and what it is again, it was just like, it's just something that I never. It was so completely out of my comfort zone as a performer. But I always loved my comedy god.
I would think Carlin.
Was Carlin.
Yeah.
Always was Carlin. Just because although I could never do what he did the way he did it.
Right.
He was sort of like, that was the field I was tilling. And I loved, but also at the same time, I loved Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
And that stuff that was just pure fun. Right. And didn't have any agenda or angst to it. Or the angst was cartoon angst. I'm at a point in my life where my personal angst is fairly contained. And I really just wanted to I love having another character that you can just, stuff that I write that I can't do, it can just live on in these other characters. It's just really fun. And Dave and I are having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, speaking of Dave,
same birthday also, Dave and I.
Really? Mm-hmm. What are the odds?
August 24th.
I was just going to say, happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much.
Dave Koechner was here, and we're doing a thing on the show where we ask.
He's a right bastard.
A series of 5 questions. He is a right bastard. A series of 5 questions, this or that. They're written specifically for the guest by the audience. Uh-huh. And we gave it a name, which was a Tweet 5, because we were having people submit them through Twitter. Mm-hmm. And then Dave offered up this for the Tweet 5. Team 5 forever now. That face. It's that face at the end that really brings it all together.
And utterly fearless.
The most fearless performer I think I've ever seen.
Utterly fearless. I mean, I really...
Yeah.
It's... I really did go what is the thing that I'm the most afraid of doing, and who is the person that I would be the most afraid to do it with?
Improvise on stage with Dave Koechner.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's why I did.
He's a Jedi
because you
master.
saw me that night, and I was a wreck. I was like, I'm going to come out as a character, and I know it's going to work or not.
Yeah. Yeah. You were apologizing for 10 solid minutes before it happened. Yeah, it was pretty sad. And then you went on and had the time of your life.
It was great.
This one had written to you from the Facebook, actually, from Eddie Nunn. This T5 designed specifically for you, sir. It's a this or that, Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer. Here we go, ready.
Right.
Ben Stiller show or Mr. Show?
Oh, God. See,
these are all Sophie's choice, my friend.
Okay.
You have
okay, I will. Mr. Show.
Yes.
Homer or Mr. Burns?
Mr. Burns.
Patton Oswalt or Paul F. Tompkins?
Patton Oswalt. Oh, that's
horrible.
Yeah, that's
horrible.
You're really quick with that one.
Yeah.
No, I'll give you. I can tell you why all of them. I can tell you why all of it's the same thing.
We're gonna get that. Best for comedy, depression or anger?
Anger.
Boston or San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Also the correct answer.
Wow.
You want to justify that Patton Oswalt now, so that Paul F. doesn't come in from the other room? Because he's just outside.
He was just outside. Well, it was the same. It's the same answer as the Mr. Show answer. Right. I'm assuming it's who would you most likely, what should you rather watch? And I didn't work on Mr. Show. I did work on the Ben Stiller Show.
Right.
So I can enjoy it more objectively. Because when I watch the Ben Stiller Show, I'm either pissed off that I wasn't in the sketch, or oh my God, I remember that day. I was covered in ants. So it's like that. And it's the same with Paul and Pat. And, Paul is one of those guys that I consider. I mean, they're both my peers, but Paul is somebody that it's sort of like I better get to this before you do, because I feel that we shop at the same store.
Right.
And I say that in a good way.
Sure.
They're both amazing. And Patton's a little more unique.
Oh, yeah. They're both extraordinary.
Yeah.
And
lovely people. Paul, I'm sorry.
No, not even to justify.
And yet one of them is my enemy.
One of them is the next Hitler. It's up to you.
You know who else is, speaking of it, Eddie Pepitone is also one of those people. I don't know if you've had Eddie on the show. Or
I haven't.
He is one of those guys that's just like, and you made me think of that because one day he had a tweet, wasn't paying attention and accidentally killed a house painter, but I might have prevented another Hitler.
Oh, nice. That's very nice.
I may just have prevented another Hitler. That's what it was.
That's pretty sweet and spectacular. He performed that night at the Carnival, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
My parents have 18 photo albums of pictures of me failing.
18 photo albums. Full. Let's talk about Dana Gould, the actor, Summer George.
One of the 3 jobs I got from auditioning.
3?
Yes. And my career is a story of a wonderful acting job. I got the job because I wrote the show, produced it, built some cameras from scratch, funded it. But it was, the Summer George was Jerry's childhood friend on Seinfeld from Summer Vacation. And I went in and auditioned for it. And a really good friend of mine was also auditioning for it.
Who did you audition for?
Jerry and Jeff Schaefer and Alec Berg and the other people. And I got it, which was threw me for a loop.
How many auditions had you been on prior to that?
A ton, millions. And I still go out on them. And I don't have the machine that can get a job from an audition. I still go because I have a work ethic and I go. But it's... Right. It's always just like...
I've discussed on the show how it's actually, it's designed in complete contrast to the result.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the job you're going to do.
No, worse than that. The confidence that I want you to have as an actor when I hire you, you couldn't possibly have during the audition.
Right.
The difference between an offer, please do this, and how that makes you feel as a performer, to... Please come in and prove to me that you deserve this.
Yes.
Those are polar opposites.
Yeah, and having been on both sides, because again, the only way I act is when I write it, produce it, direct it.
Right.
It's so much about getting a sense of who the person is. David Lynch just meets with you and talks to you.
Right.
And gets a sense of who you are.
Right.
And I think that's all you need to do. And I did a pilot last year where that I wrote and starred in and produced and built the cameras. And rented this. No, it was ABC, Warner Brothers, big budget pilot. The premise of the pilot was, what if my dad had to move in with my wife and our children? Brian Dennehy played my father, and Trailer Howard played my wife, and I played me, and I fired me halfway through it and replaced myself with a better actor. No. And we couldn't find the woman to play my wife. And I wrote it for Rachel Harris, who was a no-brainer, but she was not available, unfortunately. And literally we saw 100, and eventually it's just like, well, just get anyone. Get anyone. And then Trailer Howard from Monk came in, and it was just like, oh, where have you been?
Yeah, why weren't you here?
She was doing something else, but it was literally, it had nothing to do with her read. She walked in and said hello, and we're like, oh, okay. Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
It has nothing that she did during the scenes told me that she was the person to do it. It's just you get a sense of who they are.
Yeah.
And with me, the way I look at it now is like, people know who I am. They know what my area of expertise is just do it or don't. But I don't want to come in. I'm not going to come in for like Jag, don't. It's like, why? Anybody, why? What's the
I'm
point?
not sure Jag was the character. I think that was the name of the show. And those initials stood for something.
I hope it was him.
That's why I didn't get it.
That's like, Dear Die Hard, do you know Mad Max?
That was a Simpsons joke I wrote about that Homer was writing fan letters
That
to
was
movies.
yours? I quote that all the time.
Oh, that was my joke.
Hey.
That's funny.
That's a great one.
I'm in show business.
She quotes the show nonstop, as does Sam Levine.
He writes fan letters to actual movies.
That's the episode with the shifty-eyed dog.
Yes. Yes.
There was a time when you decided, or someone decided for you, that you should focus more on the writing.
Yes. I got a good look at my right profile. I thought,
I have no good side.
I have no good side.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you put the camera.
There's no, I looked at 400 photos of me looking for one good photo, and finally it hit me. It's me. I'm not a good-looking man. The comedy, I did all that, and I did a sitcom. I finally got on the cast of a sitcom. I assumed, in all my arrogance, I was going to be a big comedy star.
Sure, as did I.
Everybody,
By the way.
everybody told me, and they all had better cars than I did. They should know.
Right. Yeah, when Seinfeld says, you're going to have your own show, you think, well, that's Jerry.
Well, there it
of course
is.
I'm going to have my own show.
Yeah. And
By the way, he told both of us that.
Yes. And then and then you just like, and I finally got on a show, and I was not allowed to be funny in the way that I'm funny. We had
Fred here. He talked about
Okay,
it.
it was a dysfunctional situation.
Working was the name of the show.
Yeah,
Fred Savage.
If only it were. It's still.
If only
been
it
on.
did.
Yeah, greatest guy ever, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, talk about like people like child stars are crazy. And I was like, have you met Fred Savage?
Yeah.
He's more normal than I am.
Yeah.
Which isn't a big compliment. But and I just found it really dissatisfying. And at the same time, I was writing. I was so bored while I was acting. I wrote a show for MTV that I did in the summer of that first show called Super Adventure Team, which was basically the movie Team America about 9 years before the movie Team America.
Marionettes.
Yeah, it was Thunderbirds. Parody of Thunderbirds. And I realized that, and then I wrote it. Yeah, I'm telling the story out of context.
My favorite part.
I'm telling the story out of, here's the nutshell version. Before I got on that show, I had had several pilot deals. You've had a million of them. I've had a million of them. We'd like you to star on a show. Come in, we'll hook you up with a writer. He'll develop a show. And as I've said ad nauseum, over the years I've had my hand in more failed pilots than an Air Force proctologist. And I wrote one for myself in 1995 called World on a String that was basically Seinfeld meets Pee-wee's Playhouse. It was that kind of show in a hyper-reality. And in the pilot, I had a very small decision to make. Should I give my friend, my sexy across-the-hall friend, who I have a platonic relationship, a birthday party? Of course I should, even though she really doesn't want one. And my friend played by her first job, I think in LA, Patchett Brewster.
Wow.
And then Kevin McDonald from The Kids in the Hall shows up and takes me into the future and shows me that if I don't give her the party that she doesn't want, I will end up homeless in 6 months. And I'm living in a dumpster eating a cat. And it got made, and it was great, and it was funny, and it didn't go. But what I found is that I really enjoyed writing it more than acting in it. The writing it was the fun part. And then I said, all right, you know what, I'll just write, and I'll do stand-up, and that's a great career. And then literally like, will you audition for this sitcom? I was like, I don't need it. I'm good. I get a deal to write a script. I'll do that. The director's a friend. He really wants you to go. It was Jamie Widows. And I said, okay. all right, I love Jamie, I'll go in. And because I didn't care,
That's when you get the job.
I got the job. And it only cemented my belief that the writing part was fun and the acting part wasn't. And I was literally, that show was what I came to call jetpack acting, where I was described in the LA Times as an underused third banana.
That's got to be the name of the book.
Yeah. And it was literally like, it would be a long story, and then like I would just like pop up out of nowhere. Who's the new girl? Literally, that was one scene where like they're talking, and there's a guy that, and it was just like, you know, it was just. I remember one week. Oh God. One week I was my character was a Mensa genius.
Sure.
And the next week I literally did not know how a phone worked. There's
no character assassination.
No, the phone is ringing, and I'm like looking around my desk for what's making the noise. But it's like, but last week I was in a Mensa meeting. You know, you are making this.
You're too smart, Dana. Don't you understand? The character's too smart.
You are
that he
making
doesn't
it
have
harder.
time to figure out where the phone might be.
But that was my fault for I know now for not saying no.
Now, Rob, is it anywhere near this time that George Meyer invites you by The Simpsons to punch up jokes?
It's right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right then. That's exactly what happened. Like that.
Crazy time.
I bought.
Right when you got sick and tired of it.
Yeah, it was for George Meyer said, "Hey, do you want to come punch up jokes too?"
And he was a fan of your stand-up?
Yeah, he was a big fan of uncabarets.
Right.
He was a big fan of uncabarets.
They were looking for someone to punch up jokes on a weekly basis?
Yeah, just once a week,
Right.
Tuesdays. And
Look at scripts and punch these jokes?
yeah, I just come in and work. And I
What a
was
great job, by the way, for a comedian.
Well, terrifying at first.
Intimidating as a
Because
motherfucker.
Simpsons.
And that's what I want to talk about.
You feel like Billy Preston when he walks into the Let It Be sessions. I guess I'll play with you guys. You know, suddenly
Also, you're walking in and it's
wow,
like,
these guys are good.
congratulations, you graduated from Harvard.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you graduated from Harvard. And then you show up, I've got some jokes.
Yeah, well, that stayed the 7 years because I was very much like, we all went to Harvard Lampoon, and he's a carny.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing conveyor belt system that they literally pluck them. Here's your diploma. Oh, and a contract from the Simpsons.
Right. Yeah. But when I was hired, Mike Scully, who ran the show with George Meyer, they really did make an attempt to break that up and to put in people with different skill sets. You know, and because I came out of stand-up, I knew how to just write hard jokes. You know, Mike Scully wasn't a Harvard guy either. George was.
Right.
Together, they were able. They could. It's like Dave Koechner and I.
Yeah.
We have different strengths. And so we're not. And that, you know, it's like, so I just stayed there for 7 years.
Well, let's talk about how wildly. It's one thing as a overview.
Gained a lot of weight.
Chapter title. How I shit myself the first time I showed up there.
Yeah.
But first of all, that writer's room, I think the rest of us are insanely curious about. Mm-hmm. Because as part of your dossier showed, you at one point said, we have to understand, because it's an animated show, there's no set for us to go down and have a run through. It's just writers in a room for X amount of hours every day.
Yeah. You know the footage... You know the famous photo of Obama and the cabinet watching
SEAL
the
Team
raid
6?
SEAL Team 6? It's that all day, but you're trying to figure out a good joke with the word cargo pants in it. You know, it's just sitting in that room at that table with just staring at a TV, but it has the script on it. There's a TV on a stand. And I literally think they still have a TV on a stand. I don't even think they have a flat screen still.
Right, of course.
Because Fox has no creative control over the show at all. Jim Brooks' deal is, here's the show, I'll give you the show, you press play. That's it. And it drives them insane because they can't fuck with it.
By the way, you just reminded me of something. I just have to make a note of it instead of interjecting with
Buy
the
plums.
James L. Brooks will be our guest here next Sunday.
Oh!
I'm going to need a question from you for him.
What was it about me that caused you to hate?
That was the question. Thank you. Okay, so his deal was press play. We're going to give you the show.
Yeah.
So consequently,
and there was a great. Well, you can ask him about this, and it's there was a time when midway through the show, I think it was Sandy Grushow left the network, and then he came back, and then they thought that they'd retest the show. Just put it into testing again to see what people think.
After it had been on.
This is like season 20. Just because it's just like they can't not do it. And Jim, you have to ask him the real version because I only know what trickled down. But supposedly Jim said, well, that's great. You can absolutely test it and get all your information. Basically, I love the show and I think it's funny. And when I think it's not funny anymore, I'll stop making it.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's good too. But it is that, it is that, the old saying about communism, you probe with the Chinese communism, you probe with a bayonet. If you encounter straw, proceed. If you encounter steel, withdraw. They're actually very conflict averse. That's true. And that's sort of how Fox was. Can we fuck with you here? No? Okay. We're just trying. We'll come back in a week. Because they can't creatively, I mean, you can't say motherfucker or stuff, but the standards and practices notes, obviously, but because.
As to what's funny, because the network's ability, and forgive me, those of you watch and listen with any sort of regularity, the network's ability to find the center of why something's funny and works, their savant-like ability to find the apex.
It's amazing.
As to where to add the water is uncanny.
It's uncanny. And
it's what they do best.
I will quote another Simpsons writer, David Merkin.
Please.
And to prove that that's true.
I'm wearing a David Merkin now in case.
Diane Sawyer's wearing one. It's stuck to her forehead. He said, and to prove this is true, what's amazing about network television is as on the business side of television, as the number of executives whose job is to help the show, as that number has doubled, what they've managed to do, viewership is down by a half.
I see. So you've got
the more people that aren't comedy writers helping, the less people watch this.
Yeah, interesting graph.
But they can't, since they can't fuck with the show that way, they'll find any way to fuck with it. And one day, Mike Scully, every day at 3, you walk in the morning, you have a lunch order. And then your lunch comes at 1, and you eat from 1 to 2:15. And then this is what the show is like. And then you're back, and then 3 o'clock, they do a Starbucks Jamba Juice run. And then if it goes late, which is rare, they're pretty good, and they've got it down, you get a pizza. No big fancy dinners. We're not like these,
Right.
We're going out to the Tavern on the Green. They're going to fly it in. You get a pizza.
Right.
It's also 1980.
Right. No, but it's a story that it's not, I won't bore you with it. But Mike got a call, and this is like, season 17 from the front office of Fox. You can't have pizza and Jamba Juice on the same day. And Mike, I think Mike said, you're calling from a building the show paid for. You're calling from the new building. That's because of us. And Mike was great. He goes, well, I can't keep the people late. I can't make the order I can't keep the people late and not feed them, and I can't make the order if I can't keep them late. So if you want to call upstairs and get them to knock the order down to 20 shows this season, awesome.
Yeah.
Unless you heard.
But we're done with these calls.
Yeah. But no, they keep trying because it's their job.
Right.
That
first script assignment. Because you went from joke puncher to right around the time, according to the dossier, that job's tenure was ending. You were a fairly new parent, I believe, or a fairly new husband, one of the two, and that's when they said, "Well, how would you feel about coming in every day?" It was
kind of like that. I had just become, when I started the show, I was a guy living with his girlfriend, and I ended the show a married guy with 2 kids, and still had the girlfriend.
Your guma. I got it.
Yeah, in Encino.
Always in Encino, by the way. The guma is always in Encino.
She's always in Encino, in a luxury villa. I became an adult. I left the show as a grown man. I would put it that way. And I did. The second phase of the comedy boom had kind of withered away, and it was late '97, '98, and comedy was really getting sparse. And by that time, people don't understand, in 1998, Well, no, it's 2000. It's 2000. But, you know, I was only 36, but I'd been doing stand-up 18 years already.
Right.
You know, I was still a young man, but I was already like,
An 18-year veteran.
I've been doing this 20 fucking years.
Yeah. At mid-30s.
Yeah, and I was just, you know, this was just a great challenge, and I'd gotten to a point in my life where I didn't need strangers to love me anymore, and I really enjoyed it. But in terms of getting picked up, I knew my contract was ending, and nobody had said anything, and I felt fairly confident I could use that to get a job someplace else.
Yeah.
I could.
It's a hell of a calling card.
Yeah, I figured I could get on.
I made The Simpsons funnier. Anybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could get on, Heather's Reasons Why Not, or whatever one of those shows were.
That's one of the greatest shows ever, by the way.
Yeah, Tin Full of Biscuits, whatever they had going.
There's reasons.
What is this?
Why not?
Yeah.
Veronica's Reasons?
From the producers of She's the Sheriff, He's the Transvestite.
Veronica Snatch?
I actually think I met on Veronica Snatch. They're really nice people.
That was the original title of Veronica's Class.
But and literally Mike Scully, and this is a terrible. Writers hate this story because I know people that have their dream is to write on The Simpsons. They've written 78 spec scripts. They can't get anybody to read them. I was literally sitting in the room, and Mike Scully walked in, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I just looked. Your contract is up. I think your contract is up." And I thought he was going to go, "You don't have to be here today if you don't want to," or something like that. And he literally said, "You just want to come every day?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Great." And then and that's why I love Mike Scully. He just went, "Sucker," and walked out. It's like,
that's genius.
Yeah, but that's why Mike's the greatest.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't. Mike is the boss, but he doesn't act like the boss.
Which makes him the greatest boss ever.
Makes him the greatest boss ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Al Jean is also a great boss. I don't mean to be giving Al short shrift.
Well, no, of course not. But
But Al,
How about-
Mike hired me, and Al fired. No, he didn't fire me. No, he didn't.
no, you fired yourself.
Mike, it was Mike hired me, and he hired a guy that didn't go to Harvard that was just a comic, for that team. I mean, that was a big vote of confidence. It
wasn't
put me in a
happening.
different level. Yeah, it did. It put me in a different sort of level. It was great.
And then getting that first script assignment. The first time you're sitting in that writer's room where you went from joke punching to, or were you doing joke punching in the writer's room with all the writers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
from the
remember
very
the first
beginning.
joke I ever. Yeah, and it's with George Meyer, who is one of the legendary. I mean, he
You're
will
basically in
come
the
up-
writer room of your show of shows. I mean, there's not
It's
a lot
terrifying.
of difference.
There was a day where we were coming up with Homer fell off a roof and bounced off an awning onto another awning, and then he bounced onto a truck carrying a bunch of marshmallow fluff, marshmallow fluff truck. And then we're thinking, okay, what's the end of the joke? 2 hours of 12 people at the table watching Team 6, what if the truck, I remember there were pictures what if the truck goes off a cliff but lands on a train carrying marshmallow fluff or something. And then all of those, and people are just and the weird thing about The Simpsons is there's no polite laughter if your joke sucks.
Oh, wow.
It's just, I remember once he was the one that told Mike that originally brought me to the show, but I pitched something to George. And I think it was because he's my friend that he felt comfortable doing this. He just looked at me and he went, yawn.
Well, that's why
I think if we weren't friends, he wouldn't have done that.
Right.
He's not an asshole.
Well, but there's a part of that also that goes back.
It's like, you're here now. We're not going to fuck. It is. I keep using Beatles analogy. It's like, no, I'm not going to. It's like, no. It's you. If you weren't good, you wouldn't be here. Grow up.
Right.
But anyway, we couldn't figure out this joke, and then out of nowhere, George just goes, "What if Homer lands on the marshmallow fluff and he's good, and then after a beat, a bunch of scorpions come out from underneath the marshmallows and start stinging him?" and we're all just like, "Yeah, that was my next pitch." He can just come up with stuff that it makes you shudder.
Yeah.
He once said, he was just sitting there and he went, "Country crock. 2 words, 2 lies. Not made in the country, doesn't come in a crock. How do you compete with that?
No, you don't.
You just go home.
Yeah. And the first script.
Yeah, I wrote the first script. They protect you a lot. You know, they really, you know, I'd written scripts before. I'd written pilots and stuff, and I, you know, it is funny.
I mean, do you pitch them a great
billion ideas,
a episode story, and they say, you go ahead and write the script because we're going to rewrite as a committee anyways?
No, I kind of got a sense of that because I've been there long enough that I knew what, you know, it's basically you work on a script that you've worked on for a month and go, terrific, Act 1. And they just, you know, your stuff surviving is a rarity. It's you write the script and they use that as the reason this show is so good is because it's just refined. Every script is refined to the nth level.
Right.
Just like, and they have a great sort of story structure that they had there. It's a 3-act show, and although it's 4 now, but it was 3 at the time. And you know, your first act is just a sketch that has nothing to do with the episode. And then you start the story at the end of the first act. And the second act is the story. And for the third act, you have to bend the story as hard as you possibly can without breaking it. But the third act twist has to be as strong a twist as you can possibly do. And I wanted to do a show based on my dad, who my father started a hunting club.
Of course he did.
In our town. I grew up in the sticks of Massachusetts, and he and his friends, there was this old barn, and they converted it, and it became a private hunting club. There was a lake that they stocked with fish, and there was an archery range in the back, and there was it's still there. It's called the Nip Muck Rod and Gun Club. And
I'll
my
say.
dad, I'll say. But if you go to nipmuckrodandgunclub.com, it is a vigorous gay porn site.
Vigorous.
I don't know, yeah. It is an elastic gay porn site. Well, that would work. But they found out that, you know, because it was a private club, that they didn't need a liquor license. So there's a bar there that I grew up in. You know, I grew up in this bar watching my dad bartend and stuff. And I just like that story, and I like the idea of Homer opening up his own bar in the house, in the garage. And they.
What's the name of the episode?
I know.
Homer as Mo?
Homer the Mo.
The Mo.
Homer the Mo. And the sign for Homer's bar over the bar is the Nip Muck Rod and Gun Club sign. And it all started with Mo going back to bartending school.
Right.
To bone up.
Jeremy's Irons? No, who's the
based on George Plimpton.
The old
the
mentor
teacher.
when he goes back.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm dying, Mo.
Yeah, right.
A George Meyer joke. Yeah, staring at the lake. Look at the lake. The way the leaves fall on the lake. I love how the water sparkles so. I'm dying, Mo. and then Homer takes over and Homer runs Moe's, and it's great, and he's so happy, and then Mo comes back and turns the bar into a high-class Ian Schrager type facility called M, based on my experience of being in the men's room of the W Hotel in New York and not realizing I was in the men's room. I walked into this room, and it was just 4 white walls and a waterfall with a small trough. And I'm looking for the bathroom, and within 7 seconds, a guy walks in, starts pissing in the waterfall, and somebody walks out of the wall. It was like the stall doors were like these like cabinet doors that you press, and it was a bukkake of style over function. And I just thought that was I really hate that, and I thought I'll really
I'll show them.
Make a meal on that. Yeah, they'll have to redesign the hotel when I'm done. And then we got to the third act, and it was they went on and then REM came, and and they went hunting. It was pretty nuts. But I think I think of the episodes that I wrote, it was the funniest one I wrote. I don't think it's not my favorite one. It's not the best episode I wrote, but I think it just has the funniest stuff in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And moving up the food chain there as a writer.
I don't think you. Yeah, well, you don't. You just get a better title
Oh, is that?
and fatter.
And is that an agent thing?
Yeah. Like when I was co-executive producer, I was doing the same thing I was doing as a supervisor.
Really, nothing changed.
Not really. You get some more responsibilities. You know, you get to direct a little.
There's
bit
a few
the
more
voices
people in
and
the room
stuff.
you get to call new kid.
Yeah, that's it. New fish. Yeah, and you get fatter, and by that time you're fatter. That's you take care of that when you leave.
Right.
Yeah, but it was it was a wonderful place, and I really I loved it. But I felt after 7 years I didn't want to stay there my whole career. My manager Tom Laselli said, "You don't want to stay there till it's too late." Because you don't want to be like the guy from The Simpsons that, I'm a much bigger fan of me than I am of The Simpsons. So I wanted to, I really had the itch after 7 years, and then kind of like, I was like, all right, I want to do something again. I'm getting a little crazy.
Right.
And I really...
Now, is there a part of you in the back of your mind thinking I could go back later, and I know that?
Would they have me?
And therefore I'm going to go out and...
No, I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back. They would take me.
Because of the way it functions.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't think they have the money. And it's not because I get paid so much. I just don't think it's like that. And it would be going back to The Simpsons now would be like, I had such a great time in high school. I'd like to do my senior year again. There's your movie. The senior. Jefferson High as a new senior. Hello. I feel good. Doodle, 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 doodle. That's good. Oh, I forgot the needle scratch.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's every movie you could do that trailer to. Schindler's List. The Nazis have taken over Germany. And they hate the who? I feel good. Doodle, doodle, doodle. But the other thing that I'm leaving out is my wife has a much better job than I do, and she makes enough money that I have the freedom to go, I think I'm going to go.
I see. You have the freedom to fuck around a little bit.
Well, you sound like, you make it sound dirty.
I mean creatively.
Yeah, I don't have, my wife and 2 kids are not, if I had a wife and 2 kids and my wife was home raising the kids, I wouldn't be making random casual decisions. I'm not following my bliss anymore. I would still be there going, what if Homer found a hat? That's funny, right? But I did feel like I had done in the 7th season, I really just couldn't think of an episode to do.
It seems like, even though the show's been there 20 plus years, 7 years riding on any show.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a very natural cycle. It feels like a cycle of time.
Yeah.
7 years. And
there's a reason it's not called the 8-year itch.
Yeah. Well, it's a 7-year itch. I mean, and in fact, the episode before the last one that I wrote, which was the best one I wrote, I pitched something. My children are from China. Our children are all adopted from China, and I pitched a bunch of weird things about Homer becomes radiated or just, and Al at the time said, it would be great. Why don't you just do an episode about adopting a baby from China? That's the episode you should do. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Didn't make any sense.
What? And that was the best, obviously, because it was so real. It's just a really good episode. And that's a nice Al Jean story, who I've given short shrift in this interview.
Yes. He knew.
Yeah. And Al has in my stories of The Simpsons, Al has the misfortune of being the Jay Leno to a guy that grew up on Johnny Carson. It's like, but Mike was my guy. It's like he's the Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No knock on him. It's just where I came into the picture.
Right.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I like him a lot.
Are you ready for another Tweet 5, sir?
Yes.
Q Keckner.
Oh, here we go. I gotta call him. Team 5.
That's the only reason we're doing it, is to remind you have to call him. This one.
By the way, improvising on stage with him, to turn and see his face, it's terrifying. But just like, he's got it.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
And I've improvised with like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey. I've been on stage.
Well,
improvising
improvising
a lot
with
of
Robin's
people.
easier because you just
Stand there. You read a book.
you just move back against the wall.
Yeah.
Say,
I was this is just at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco, improvising after a show with Jim Carrey and me and a bunch of people, and we were playing freeze tag.
oh no.
And Jim goes, freeze! He comes and he goes, I got nothing.
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty bald. I got nothing.
I got nothing. This one is from our one of our original and bestest of friends here at the show, Martha_S, at the Twitter handle. Papa's got a brand new badge.
Yep, badge.
Or Goo Goo Guy Pan.
Goo Goo Guy Pan is the episode that I was talking
You're
about.
referring to it as being your personal favorite.
Based on my experience adopting my first daughter. But everything is what is from your life. The Goo Goo Guy Pan is about my experiences in China adopting my first daughter. The baby is designed on the first photo we were given of our daughter. And Papa's Got a Brand New Badge is an earlier episode inspired by when we bought a house. And we had to get, West Tech security. Like the first thing you do if you live in LA is like, yes, there are cops, but you have to have your own cops. And but it's like you can trace back to where every episode I can tell you where I was in my life at that time.
That's amazing.
Because they always mirror where you are at that time in your life.
The old write what you know.
It really is true. And what I find interesting is even when you don't...
Also, it's what's aggravating you at the time.
So it's aggravating you at the time, but even when you don't plan on it,
That still happens.
you can't help it.
Yeah.
But that's the greatest thing that's the joy that I get from writing that is different from stand-up, is that the characters and the story starts to dictate itself.
Right.
In a much more concentrated form than stand-up.
That's actually an insight that those of you watching at home should jot down.
Yes.
You.
If you're done shitting yourself in awe.
And now, speaking of pure joy, on to question 2 of the Tweet 5. Michelle Bachmann or Sarah Palin?
Michelle Bachmann.
Mom?
Sarah Palin, one of those people.
Although the new information about her previous tryst with one of the NBA's better.
Is that true?
Have you not heard?
I don't know this one.
Oh, boy. It went down a couple days ago when she was 22-year-old.
Black or white?
African-American.
Oh, that's not going to go well with her fan base.
That's great for the Tea Party.
Their fan base.
They're
A lot of people,
raising that flag right
A lot
now.
of people in their fan base, they put the pillow in the pillowcase, and there's 2 holes in the pillowcase. Perfectly aligned.
Yeah, it's kind of pointy on top, the pillowcase, oddly.
Yeah.
Monster Palooza or Fangora's Weekend of Horrors?
Oh, Monster Palooza.
Don Knotts or Huell Hauser?
Don Knotts.
I love the speeding up. Larry Talbot, as played by Benicio del Toro, or Larry Talbot, as played by Lon Chaney Jr.?
Larry Talbot is played by Lon Chaney Jr. Great story about that.
Please.
Larry Talbot, for those of you who don't know, is the Wolfman. Goo Goo Guy Pan was written by Larry Talbot because at the time Goo Goo Guy Pan was airing, we were getting ready to go to China to adopt our second daughter,
Right.
Alice, who today is home at Temperature.
Yeah.
And it is a police state in China.
Lest we forget.
Yeah, and we had friends in China that were blogging and sending photos back. And there was a photo of the baby in the washer tub. The baby happened to be naked.
As babies want.
Yeah, they sent like 6 photos, and the 2 of the naked baby somehow never made it out.
Oh, my God.
It's literally, I was in the lobby talking.
From an email never made it out?
Yeah, because it's going through a server.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no,
That's not censorship at all.
it is censorship, but they say we censor. Why are you screaming at me? It's just what I do. It's like going to McDonald's and complaining that you're serving food.
Stop Frenching the fries.
Exactly. I was in the lobby of the hotel with our sort of guide, and I was saying, we're talking about Nixon. about how he's loved in China.
Sure.
And I was talking about, it is amazing. In America at the time, he was incredibly, at the end of his career, when he was still lived in China, he was hated in America by that time. And he was literally like, yeah. Like, just they don't want to talk about politics.
Right.
And you get a lot, like, before you go over, like, do not bring drugs. Do not bring pornography. You will go home. Your baby will not go home with you. It's just like, they are not effing around.
Which, by the way, what other two things would you bring when going to adopt a baby?
Yeah,
other than drugs and porn?
Drugs, porn.
What else is there?
Cheerios. But yeah, I know that.
Honey, you got the baby?
But that is the thing. It's like, why are you telling me? They just say it because they don't want to be embarrassed. But it's like, they do sell it at the airport. It is that impulse buy. Well, I better get some airplanes and the new club. It might be a lot. I think David Cross does a bit about that, so I don't want to steal his bit. But it's like, who buys porn at the airport? Who buys porn at all anymore? You can't keep it out of your computer. It's like leaves. Get these out of here. So much porn everywhere.
The bathrooms are too small, anyways.
Yeah, it's not. It's just and that's. Well, I don't know. No one wants to go there. But anyway, so we were afraid that this episode was going to air.
You're right.
And there's going to be something squirrely. They think we're making fun of the Chinese government or the police, and so my wife just said, "Just don't have your name on it." And so it was written. It was written by Larry Talbot.
You're saying you gave screen credit to a fictional character.
Is Larry Talbot on that episode. I think in the rerun it went back to my name, but when it first aired, it was written by Larry Talbot.
The kids are home.
The kids are home. We're safe. But we ended up going back for our third. But by that time, it had aired. But yeah, no, that's an interesting thing. Larry Talbot was the Wolfman, who was my hero growing up, who I really
Well, your first
loved.
goal, according to the dossier,
My dossier.
your first goal was to be the Wolf.
Yeah, I really, and it's all been since psychologically explained to me, Kevin. There's my two biggest obsessions as a child were explained to me. One was my love of the Wolfman, but a true connection. I really did.
Howl at the Moon at midnight?
I really related to him because I was raised Catholic, and yet I was a normal human boy. And so I would do things that I had no control over and then would be filled with shame the next day. And the reason that Lon Chaney Jr.'s portrayal of the Wolfman is so great as opposed to his other, he was amazing in Of Mice and Men, and he's amazing in The Wolfman. And then every other horror movie he's in, it's kind of a yawn. He really phoned it in on a lot of, like playing Frank. He played the Frankenstein monster, but he didn't do anything with it in the way that Boris Karloff did. But the Wolfman really did. He was a terrible alcoholic, and I'm not talking out of school. Well documented. But he really, he got it completely. He knew it. And the Wolfman is just basically, the Wolfman is the story of an alcoholic. It's just like, I don't know, what'd I do? Who's
dead?
Yeah, what's happened?
I got a headache.
There is that great scene in the remake of the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro where he wakes up and he's just in a field covered with blood. He has no idea what happened, and Anthony Hopkins is his dad, and he goes, "You have done terrible things, Larry." And my brother, when he gets really drunk on a Friday night, will call me on Saturday and go, "I've done terrible things, Dana." but Larry, what's amazing in the Wolfman, there's two things in the Wolfman that are really crazy. One, in the first scene where he turns into the Wolfman, he's sitting in a chair and he's in these khaki pants and a wife beater, and he turns into the Wolfman, and then they cut to him out in the moor, and he's in dark shirt and dark pants. I like that the Wolfman changed. And the other one is Lon Chaney Jr. Lon Chaney Jr. from Cleveland, is the son of British. Is the son of a British To the Manor Born, played by Claude Rains.
Yeah.
This is hello, Larry. Hiya, Pop. It sure is good to be back in England, where I was raised by you. It's really a stretch. My other childhood obsession was Planet of the Apes, which I'm first, which I just was. That was to me like what baseball is to kids. I just something about Planet of the Apes. Just I couldn't get enough of it.
Right.
And my shrink once said, "You know, it makes perfect sense, because you were raised in a house full of alcoholics,
Monkeys.
and like Charlton Heston in that movie, you were in a world that was turned upside down." And I was like, that, and if you've ever seen it, it's Moses dressed like Tarzan being chased by King Kong dressed like Fonzie. It's just the coolest thing ever.
You did not say that to your shrink.
But yeah, I did. It's a testament to the genius. You were talking about Tim Burton being a genius. Anybody who doubts Tim Burton is a genius. Tim Burton made a movie where apes could talk and had weapons and ride horses, and yet made it boring.
That's genius.
Only a genius. He made my second favorite movie of all time, and
Edward Scissorhands.
Ed Wood.
Oh, Ed Wood.
Yeah, and then made a ghastly remake of my favorite movie of all time. So
Right.
my feelings of him are mixed. He's like an ex-wife. I love him and I hate him. I love him and I hate him.
You know what this feels like?
A show you should cut down to about 4 minutes.
It feels like it's time for Who Tweeted. Oh, crank it up. And you also wrote the lyrics to the song "The President Wore Pearls."
President Wore Pearls.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, please.
Now, is that Joseph Montaigne? Is he the host of Who Tweeted?
That's Sam Levine.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Exactly.
It's me.
Jason, what's happening?
Look, it's my first time.
What's weird is we're also standing. He's just that tall.
He's a giant.
I just turn like this. This is my first time hosting this game.
So be gentle.
And mazel on your baby.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So be gentle with you.
Be gentle. I'm going to explain
Babies,
the game.
homemade, store-bought.
Ah,
They're both good.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. They're all beautiful.
The only difference between my children and your children is that my children is holding more of your children's debt.
They'll do better at the SATs.
When China comes to claim the country, we're just going to point to our kids and go, "We work for them. I don't know what you want."
Yeah.
They're all so beautiful, though.
Aww.
So I'll explain the rules. Who tweeted?
Please.
So I'm going to read a series of 8 tweets written either by Tyra Banks, Paris Hilton, Justin Bieber. So each time I read that individual tweet, you'll ring in by saying your name and who you think wrote it. Tyra, Paris,
And
or
is
Bieber.
this like Jeopardy where it's a race to see who rings in first, or do we all
Yeah, if you ring
weigh
in
in on
first.
No, whoever rings in first is the only one to answer.
Okay.
Yes.
If you get it wrong, I don't get a
But
shot
I
at
would
it.
recommend listening to the entire.
Read the whole thing, unlike a
Right.
Jeopardy contestants who try to.
Because it
press
might
the
end
buttons
with,
above.
"I think that being a black woman."
Yes,
That would give it away.
Exactly.
I'm going to read it flat. I'm going to read it completely
I
flat.
think that being Justin Bieber.
And if you get it correct, 5 points.
Yes.
Incorrect, -3 points.
There's a penalty for incorrect
God.
answers, mister.
But if you win the game,
What do you got for us?
a double sawbuck.
Well,
What the?
Double sawbuck, 7th President Andrew Jackson, also called Old Hickory.
I thought a double sawbuck was $30.
Nope, a double sawbuck is a sawbuck is $10, and the reason why they call it a sawbuck is because on the old $10 bill it had an X for 10, and that resembled
saw.
the legs of a sawbuck. That's why they call it double sawbuck. 2
Now there is
tens,
and
20.
do you know that there is a, where's the camera? There is a hitchhiker. There's a person hitchhiking on the back of the 20. If you look,
Well, you haven't smoked enough pot.
he must have got a ride. That's an old bar joke.
That's an old Art Carney joke.
old bar joke, but a goodie.
Keep that flattened.
And then as Lon Chaney Jr. would famously say when he would go into bars and towards the end of his life, "Who wants to buy the Wolfman a drink?"
Did he really?
Girls in high school used to call me Wolfman because I was so hairy.
Sure. The old joke. I think it's Jeff Cesario's joke.
Oh, really?
"I'm so hairy when I walk on the beach, people go, 'Who called a cab?'"
That's a joke about your people.
Well,
Yeah.
All right, let's start this game.
Yes, please.
Have you ever asked, why do you hate us?
Yeah.
All my best friends are Jews.
And other poems.
It's true.
Another poem.
All right, tweet number one.
All right,
Okay.
Tweet number one. In bed watching Family Guy. I love this show. So hilarious. Stewie is so funny and cute.
Dana. Justin Bieber.
Incorrect.
We don't have to celebrate it.
I was in bed with Justin Bieber when he tweeted.
Can you make this? The next game should be, can you make this tweet better?
Who was that?
That was Paris Hilton.
See, no one thinks she has a sense of humor. Just cock.
I'm surprised she knew how to spell guy.
Number two.
Tweet number two.
Never dull your shine for somebody else.
Jesus. Kevin Tyler Banks.
Correct.
I was going to say Bieber again.
Wow.
All right, tweet number three.
Tweet number three. Hashtag don't text and drive. Hashtag phone guard.
Dana Tyra.
Again, incorrect.
You get
You are
celebrated.
wrong.
You get celebrated. You're not supposed to celebrate and laugh when the guest gets it wrong.
You know, that was, my answer was racist, by the way. Because don't text and drive is Oprah's big thing, and I figured they must be friends, because I think Oprah produces her show.
Is that why?
I think so.
Because
yeah.
Oprah produces her
think
show?
so,
Or because they're both
Funny.
women?
I also think it's interesting that Oprah probably has not driven a car in 40 years.
She's bigger than a car. What? And Justin.
What did
ironically,
I say? What did I say?
Justin doesn't drive. That's ironic. All right. Number four. Thinking about starting Christmas early, like November.
Well, I'm not even answering.
Kevin Bieber.
Kevin, that is correct.
Thank you for not celebrating.
Wow, you were destroyed.
Canadians celebrate Christmas? Yeah, right? That's
Yes.
Yes.
Not an American holiday.
They call it Gordie Howe Day.
Hockey fan loves that one.
No, it's a Simpsons reference.
Oh.
No, it's a hockey reference.
No, but it's also a Simpsons reference.
Oh, well, I came from the same fruit from the same tree.
Yes. All right.
Number five.
We're both 2 for 2. That's the
2
important
for
part.
2, negative and positive. Number 5. My fam. Tune into Howard 110 minutes to hear me chat with @Howard Stern about all things.
Dana, Paris.
Incorrect.
I think it's important to be consistent in life.
Robert Klein, just watching.
It's a hat trick right there, Dana.
It is the hat trick.
Well, I guess you guys are better at channeling idiots than I am.
Who wrote that one?
That was Tyra Banks.
Wow. See, now she would have been third because I don't picture her on
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. Also, I've not listened to more than 30 seconds of Howard Stern, so how would the fuck?
Paris
how
was
the
the
fuck
good
would I
guess
know?
because you would figure she would be, like, you know, a guest on the Howard Stern show because she's a whore.
A whoa.
This would be better if it was just like, it's either Wilfred Brimley, Jimmy Carter, or Nina Hartley. I'm ready.
That's good.
Drove by Johnny Wad's old house, shed a tear. Wilfred Brimley.
Oh, that's fantastic. Keep going. Where are
I
we?
actually met Nina Hartley. She is sweet as a peach.
Is she?
Yeah,
Sweet
she's
as
a
a-
lovely person. I didn't even mean to make that sound dirty. She's really a nice person. Really enjoys sex.
Well, stop seeming shocked.
No, I'm not shocked at all. But it's I'm interrupting the game.
No.
Yeah.
You know, in San Francisco,
Sure.
the Alex Bennett radio show, the comedians would go on. You went on.
Now on Sirius in New York.
Now on Sirius. Who, by the way, Alex Bennett, who predicted Sirius in like 1985.
Wow.
He really did.
Yeah.
He was very ahead of his time. You meet a lot of porn stars because it's like they come and do the show, and you're the comedian.
He
there.
had them on all the time.
Yeah, and you meet them, and 99% of them are just like lizard sunning itself on a rock. Just like, you know, it's just nothing. Like, it's.
Daddy
it's
didn't
just
hurt me.
there's-
Daddy didn't hurt me. Daddy
it's
didn't
like,
hurt me.
So hi, dad or uncle? Just curious. You know, it's just nothing. There's no there. And then I did this show called Porn Stars and Pundits, sort of a talk show, and it was me and her, and she was incredibly engaged and really incredibly smart, but not like I'm not surprised that she's smart, but she's very functional.
Right.
I think she just loves fucking. I really do.
I think she just loves fucking.
What an odd thing to say about a person that fucks for a living. She loves her job.
Yeah. And isn't that what it's about at the end of the day? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's
Apparently
right.
she woke up
That's right.
to that every morning.
And that was also said by the star of over 11 different gangbang videos. That would be a great, just like a thought balloon. Somebody jerking off 11 guys. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. When I'm done with this, I'm going to go apple picking with my sister.
Let me just get a gallon of goo off my face. All right. What were you saying, Jason?
We are at
Let me dredge my clothes the way they scour the grotto rocks of James Caan.
Oh, man.
You know, I live in Roddy McDowell's old house, speaking of Planet of the Apes.
Someone's going to need a tour soon because she's been visited by the ghost of him lately.
Yes, he's very upset.
I know where he's not, at my house.
Why is he upset, honey? Because, A, Planet of the Apes.
And Fright Night.
Fright Night.
He's very upset. I spoke with him.
We should have this an hour ago, because now we can go in a whole other place.
All right.
But I will just say, there was our pool. There was so much genetic material
Semen?
in the swimming pool that we took some to a lab.
Did you?
Yeah, and we are growing our own tab hunter. We saw him hide. He's not done yet.
He's not done yet.
Not done, hairless and pale. But I thought it would be great if at the end of the new Planet of the Apes, if he still had like Roddy's like fey British voice, like even though he wasn't like at the end he's like, Caesar is home. Like he just still had that like sort of like Shakespearean actor voice. I'm sorry.
For no reason.
Wait, did you see the new one?
Yeah, I loved it actually. Am I in the minority here?
No, we haven't seen it.
It's great. It's really good.
Let me finish so
I'm sorry.
then I'll end up pulling up a chair and join. Number 6. At the dentist. Frownies.
Kevin Bieber.
Should I finish it?
Nope.
You're wrong.
Good.
Well, read the rest of the
Now
tweet,
finish it.
See if there's anything else that would be giving it away.
Brutal way to start the day.
Oh, no. Not what I was...
You waiting for Love Tyra.
Just, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Paris Hilton.
At the dentist, my crown was knocked loose by the cock of a rich guy's kid. Paris?
Should we move on to number 7?
Have you seen these posters around town? Apparently Jonah Hill is making a movie about David Berkowitz working as a babysitter.
I know. What is that
Could it
poster?
be more pedophile-y?
Need a babysitter?
He really looks like David Berkowitz.
Yeah.
Not anymore. He's like, he lost like 100 pounds.
He looks like a
That's
shadow.
a very
Now
Berkowitz.
he looks like a shadow of David
Yes.
Berkowitz.
They all lose weight.
Now he looks like David now. Oh, no, he's still alive, isn't he?
Yes.
Steven Tyler looks like Jim Morrison now. A skeleton in a wig and a leather suit.
Oh, tweet number 7.
Tweet number 7. Just landed back in LA. Yes. Now time to pack for my trips to Spain, Turkey, India, then Ibiza. Love to travel. I never stop.
Well, I'm gonna take this one
Okay.
and lose. I'm gonna say it's Paris Hilton.
Correct.
Oh, no!
Oh.
You totally fucked up the curve because
Still
we
in the
all thought
minus,
you were going
though.
to say Bieber.
Still in the minus, though.
Okay, fortunately, this last question
Makes no difference.
is worth 15 points.
Okay, yeah.
Just make up rules.
So you have a chance.
Here we go.
And the winner-
Shout out to @50cents and his Sork with Street King defeat over 2 million kids with the United Nations. # make a change. Congrats.
Kevin Bieber.
Yes!
That was obvious.
Wow.
That was the only
a
obvious one.
+22.
out
He's
there.
very good friends with those. He has more cred in that community than you would think.
Yeah.
Ludacris is on one of his big hits, I think.
Yeah.
I know that because when we were in China last summer, getting our third daughter, my first and second daughter played the video on Mom's iPad every minute
and
of
you-
every day.
Until you got to China, then you were arrested.
No, they played it every day. I would be in China, and I'd look out. You know, it's just like we were in Jiangxi province, which is just in the summer it's very humid and rainy and gray and it was just so depressing. And in the other room, when I was 13, I had my first. If I hear that song now, I just think Jiangxi, China, Jiangxi, China.
Thank you, Jason
Thank
Antune.
you, Dana. Congratulations.
Sit down.
Give me that.
No, the new Roddy McDowell.
Celebrities have so much to say.
Wait. This bit's not over yet.
I'm waiting.
Roddy McDowell.
I actually met him,
Oh, I gotta hear this.
and you know this, I'm sure. There is no one more beloved by people who knew him than him. He was everybody's friend.
Right.
And
Threw the best parties.
best at my house. His bathroom is in the Hollywood History Museum at the Max Factor building at Hollywood and Vine, because the walls were just filled with pictures of like Harrison Ford and Bette Davis, just snapshots in a little frame on the wall. And we actually had to go there and photograph it because we needed to match the tile, because when we
Oh my God.
bought the house, that room had they just threw drywall up and painted it, but everything else was tile. And the bathroom, Paul Rubens actually was the one, when he passed away, there was like, we have to save the bathroom. And it had like on the back of the door, was a framed letter from Fox apologizing to him for submitting him in the Best Actor category for Cleopatra instead of Best Supporting Actor category, which fucked up his chances of a nomination. And
They actually wrote a letter apologizing
yes,
for it.
in a frame.
Good luck that happening.
Yeah,
today.
now it was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Thanks for cashing the check we sent you, dick. He, he just, everybody loved him, and I met him, and he had one of the statues from Battle for the Planet of the Apes in his in the backyard.
Just a giant thing of Caesar?
Yes. Okay, so you're that
No.
versed in it. You're that versed in it. You know that it would be Caesar from Battle. I don't know your ape temperature.
No, I just took a stab.
Yeah, it was. He was Caesar, and there's a statue of Caesar from Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and that was in the backyard, that is now in the Screen Actors Guild retirement home.
Wow.
In the Rose Garden. The guy that restored that statue for him is a friend of mine, and I met him at his house, and he owns the Lawgiver statue from the original, like the 9-foot statue of like the ape god from the original 1968 movie, and there's a picture of he and I standing in front of it, like that now hangs in his house that I live in now. It's
Right.
really weird.
That is really
Yeah,
weird.
and I have that statue in the yard, not the original, but one from the mold. When the ladies come over, that's the deal closer. Perhaps you'd like to see the Lawgiver statue. Zip. Zip. Shame. Zip, flop, shame. Honey. Now my wife is a very good sport and letting me have that. We were looking at the house.
Right.
And it was too big for us. But we knew we were about to start a family. And we thought, well, it won't be too big for us in 5 years. And if we're careful with our money, we can do it. But we were on the fence.
Right.
And then the guy goes, yeah, no, it used to be a famous actor lived here. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Roddy McDowell. And my wife, I could feel my wife just go.
And there you were with your checkbook.
That was the end of it.
How much is it?
Yeah, how much now? That was the end of it. But if his ghost is out there, it's not in that house, because there's just like not a weird vibe in it. And we lived in a house that had a creepy vibe
Did you?
before, yeah.
What kind of creepy vibe?
Just, I don't know, I don't know,
Have you watched Celebrity Ghost Stories?
I love, yeah, of course. And it's just we lived right behind the Chateau Marmont. And and it might have just been the design of the house was very vertical and angular, but it just there was a creepiness to it, just like an unsettling vibe in the house. This, nothing.
Can't conjure.
No, I was in there when they were renovating it, and it was just like no power. It was just those tarps, like at midnight, no electricity, no doors or windows.
Perfect opportunity to be spooked.
Yeah, nothing.
Couldn't even get
Couldn't get nothing out of me.
that's
Couldn't get nothing out of
disappointing.
me. Yeah. No, I like ghosts.
The president wore pearls. Sir.
Could I sing it? Yeah, that was Lisa. It was a parody of Evita.
Right.
And
one of Jamie's favorites episodes.
oh, good. Yes, I had to watch Evita a lot, and then I wrote the songs. I don't even. The song that was good was the sort of the version of the getting prepped and it's
Rainbow
sort of,
High is the name of the song
Yes.
from Evita, so it was the parody of that.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, Rainbow High. Yes,
That's the. I knew what
and
you
I
were
think
talking about.
the
'cause that was
parody
the
is
best
called
one.
Springfield High.
Yes.
I couldn't sing it for you.
No. Jamie could.
I can sing the Andrew Lloyd Webber version. I don't.
If you
quite
start
remember
this Andrew Lloyd
Simpsons.
Webber version, I might know what it.
I'm not going
where
to
it
sing
goes.
on air.
Speak.
That's not
Speak it.
happening. No, get Emily in here. She'll sing it.
Speak again. Now you haven't seen the new Apes movie?
No. I
You
want
don't go to the movies?
I want to go see
Don't
it.
you go to the everything?
The motion pictures you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you not go to the movies?
Yes, I do. There are certain ones that escape me, and I'm very upset about it.
You know where I took my kids to see Planet of the Apes?
Please.
My kids who are too young to see it? The drive-in.
I read that you and your wife and family frequent a drive-in
We
near
go to the
you.
drive-in
I need
all
to
the
know where
time.
this drive-in is.
There is a fantastic drive-in in Montclair, which
Okay.
is 40 minutes east, just by Pasadena, by, ironically, Claremont.
Hello.
And it is a state-of-the-art, beautiful. We used to go in the 90s, ironically.
And now
'Cause it
you
was
go
a- it was
sincerely.
Yeah, because it was shitty. It was really run down, and they'd run old, like, you know, just about out of the theater stuff. But we'd go. But now it's completely spruced up.
And how about the old piece of shit speaker you used
No,
to
it
put
comes
on your
out your
window?
car radio. It comes out your car radio. But it's great when you have kids.
It comes out of your car radio.
Yeah, you just tune to what you know. There's 4 screens. It's 4 screens. There's a big snack bar there, and then screen here, screen there, screen there, screen there. And you go, where are you going? Planet of the Apes. All right, screen 4.
580. Tune into 580.
Yeah, FM 98.6. And it's great. It's with kids. Like we also.
So other than the exhaust from all the cars having to be on.
No, they're not. Just the poppers on. But no, we went to see.
All the cars are on as you walk
Unless
by.
it's hot.
Yeah,
Air conditioning.
half the audience dies because of the exhaust.
Still.
But we went to see Mr. Popper's Penguins,
I'll say.
if you know what I'm saying. But it was great because we actually got to talk.
Popping a penguin now.
I'm totally popping a penguin over this video. But if you can actually talk too, because you're not in a theater. You can if you're a husband and wife team with a lot of kids and 2 careers, it's a nice time to catch up.
That's the place you go.
Yeah. What was that thing we used to do with our genitals that was so great? Pee? Must be.
About writing movies, you once said, writing screenplays is hard, but not as hard as getting the job in the first place. It's easier to meet chicks wearing an Ask Me About Genital Warts t-shirt.
Yes.
That's pretty great.
Yes.
How does the pitch process go for you when you go? I know you talked about television a little bit, but you've also pitched obviously many times for the motion pictures as well.
In pitching a movie, and especially now, it's so brutal. You have to tell them the whole movie and solve and anticipate the questions that they'll have about the movie and keep it entertaining and do it in 10 minutes.
Right.
And that's
Impossible.
really a skill you have to learn.
Right.
And the first time I did it, I thought, I'm a storyteller. This is a no-brainer. Brutal. 25 minutes.
Your 10 minutes turning
It
into
was,
25.
and the guy, the studio executive, who will go nameless, was incredibly kind. And is still a very good friend of ours. But he said, I would have liked the pitch a little shorter, but I like what I did get the job. But he was like, I would have liked the pitch a little shorter. But what an elegant way of saying, learn how to do your job.
Yeah.
But it's brutal, and it's harder to get a movie made now. It's really, it's just the way budgets are. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Literally.
Yeah.
When you wrote and directed the comedy short film Soulmates,
Yes.
did you get the directing bug at all? Did it not take hold?
You know what it did is it showed me that I don't want to do it.
I see.
I just don't.
What is it you hate?
No, I don't hate any of it. I had a blast, but I'm just.
You feel inadequate?
I'm not good at it. You know, the movie was really directed by the DP, Victor, who, like with all these shots, he was like, maybe we start there and then we'll come up on that. I was like, oh yeah, that's good. But in my head, I love to write them. I love writing them. It's so fulfilling. And editing I actually enjoy, but just
the editing is great because it's the final rewrite, and as a writer,
and when you cut to a reaction instead of staying on this focus, you can really remake a movie. But the directing that's the hard slog. That's that's like being in the infantry.
Just getting all the coverage necessary.
Getting all
to make the editing
hard.
fun.
Ben Stiller is. I don't know anyone who works half as hard as he does. He works I thought I was going to be a big movie star, and then I met Ben Stiller, long before he was a movie star, and I was like, oh, well, I can probably make a nice living. He's just like. He's just nobody. He's so focused, and he knows exactly.
There's a laser beam that takes place.
Yeah,
at some
it's
point.
just something you can. It's like being a tennis pro. It's like you are either born to do that, or not. Really,
It's a life devotion.
Yeah, and it has to be something that you really have a proclivity to do and a drive to do.
Right.
I could be a shitty one, but
we've got enough of those.
Yeah,
as it turns out.
Yeah, I would. Here's what I would say. I would always feel like there was somebody better than me that could be doing it. I don't feel like that when I'm writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty fantastic in terms of.
Not that there aren't better writers than me, but that in terms of no one will get my take on this.
Well, the business is hard enough. Life is hard enough. So why don't you go ahead and find out by a certain age what you enjoy and what you feel like you can thrive most doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to, there are enough people out there that want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't, well, maybe I'll do it.
Yeah. That's sort of how I felt about being raising children.
That's completely legit. That's completely legit.
I don't have that chromosome inside of me that is screaming and yelling. I've got to raise children. I must. And I thought there's more than enough people out there that are kind of half-assing it. Do I want to be one of them?
Did you have what you would call a happy childhood?
Yeah.
That's probably a big part of that. Because I know a lot of parenthood. The one of the great joys of it is correcting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true, and
it's weird to go the other way. I'm going to have children so that I can fuck it up.
Yes.
I had it so good, I need to destroy somebody.
Visit it on you.
Yes.
But no, I think that's completely, that makes perfect sense. It's like, no, that job has been done correctly. And with me, I'm the only resemblance between the way I parent my kids and the way my father parented us is that I look like my dad. And outside of that, there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the first season of Parks and Rec that you?
Yeah, I came in, the second season, the first full season, I was hired to just sort of, what's interesting about that show is
everything for my money.
Yeah, but they didn't have that. At first, that show was allowed to find itself.
Yeah.
Where most show, and that's not a knock on the show at all. Seinfeld,
no, it was a lot.
Seinfeld didn't really find itself until about '94. I think they'll say that. It was not the same show when it started, and that really found its own sort of groove. It's an amazing show. More interesting than most. It used to be that like the TV was in the ghetto and that movies was the rich neighborhood, but I find the most interesting comedies and the most compelling dramas are all on television.
Yeah.
Very little, It's
so true.
Unless your name is Iron Man.
Well, Steve Iron Man.
Steve Ironman. car detailing.
Ironman.
I'm Steve Ironman.
What about Superman?
Steve
Who
Superman.
could lease a tall building in a single call?
Steve Superman. I'm Eric Spiderman. All the superheroes are Jewish.
I like this a lot. July, you were at the Denver Comedy Works.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that you're going out and you're able to talk about how having kids, used to be a stand-up without kids, and you did, and in fact, this was kind of shown to you. Here's some stand-up special of yours that you did that you used to piss and moan over people about having children, and you had to say, what is it about guys who are more than 100 pounds overweight that always wear T-shirts with furious eagles clinging to the flag? You notice this at Disneyland. It's like they wrap themselves in patriotism because nothing else fits. I would have never had jokes like that without my kids.
Yes.
Because you found yourself at Disneyland.
Yes, yeah, and it just, it does, if for nothing else, they help your act.
Well, believe me, over the years when I've thought about parenting, it was purely for the act.
30 minutes, you get a whole
Guaranteed.
30 chunk. No, it opens a completely new world.
God,
and
yes.
Yeah,
Well, it's all about life experience to begin with. Anyways.
Yeah, but which is not. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's also because our kids are so savvy. Growing up, mom and dad are in show business. They're in LA. They have it pretty good. It's funny, because they're pals.
Are they using
become their
phrase
pals,
like at Disneyland? Are the kids saying, "Look at the great unwashed"? How savvy are how savvy are these kids?
No, they're not. They're savvy and just like with us, they're more like we pal around. I can you can kind of pal around with them, which may be a bad thing for a parent. But we were flying back from Hawaii, our summer vacation, and my 9-year-old is sitting on the other side of the plane, and the movie starts, and it's Water for Elephants, which I've never seen. I see my 9-year-old get up, walk down, and she walks up to me, and she goes, "Dad, is this appropriate?"
This movie.
Yeah. They're like, it's a Renee Zellweger circus movie. How bad can it be? Turns out very bad. But I said, well, it's on the plane. I don't think it's going to mess you up that much.
If they're able to show it. Yeah.
I hadn't seen it, but I just thought it was just, she's like, they know what to ask her. That's really funny.
It would be even greater if she was asking because she knew Zellweger was in the film. Is this what you want my palate muddied with?
Dad, do you really want to see the first post-divorce movie? I don't think it's a good choice. No, and now they're in this little thing where they're doing Grease in their little theater thing. And
the kids?
Said, yeah. And I said, well, I guess you should watch Grease. And we watched Grease, which I'd never seen.
What?
It's filthy. Grease is filthy.
The lyrics, especially for Grease Lightning, are pretty filthy.
And it's all about horny chicks with buns in the oven and sexual situations.
They have, because I remember, if you would do it in high school, there's a watered-down version where it's...
I'm hoping that's when they do.
No, definitely.
And I had to explain to them that Tony Rizzo is Tracy Turnblatt's mom from Hairspray. And that was not an easy thing to do. John Travolta is, right. It's like, yes, he is both a skinny guy and a fat woman.
Listen.
And then he was Tracy Turnblatt's mom in Hairspray. But I would hate it if they went into show business.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My hope is they're Asian, they live near UCLA, they'll end up working in a hospital. That's what I figure.
That's what you figure?
Yeah. I've got them on a good track. Even a vet. This is I don't want to keep you, but
I don't want to keep you, but
my dog had brain surgery.
I'll say
this summer.
Well, he had it coming.
Yeah. He meows. No, we had
he was meowing. That's why you had the brain surgery.
We have a dog. He had started having seizures. I take him in. There's a tumor, but It's on the surface of the brain. It's not in the brain. We can actually get it very easily. It's like when you hear brain surgery, it's not like people. It's a dog's brain. They bounce back. She'll be home in 3 days. So they shaved her head. They cut her brain.
He's using none of it.
No, it is over the speech center. He's not using. It's fine. But I thought, who goes to school to become a brain surgeon and stops at dogs? It's like climbing to within a few feet of the top of a mountain. It's like one of the world's great ukulele players. Just take the extra step.
You don't want to go all the way to the human brain.
Yeah, no.
That's tricky.
No money in that.
Nope. I can get German Shepherds to say, huh?
Yeah, and I was explaining to this homeless guy how expensive it is. And he was so into himself. All right, go back to finding your peach pit in the dumpster. No one cares about me.
Oh, God, this made me laugh, too. Holy crap, this made me laugh. The myth of a fair universe is the wishful thinking of a people struggling to justify their belief in a God they know isn't real. Life is cruel and we're alone. Who wants chocolate milk?
No, where did I say that?
About raising kids and how to...
That sounds. That's either a quote from me or Louis C.K. That's a
that's
similar
you.
line. He has something not too dissimilar, so I hope I didn't steal it. Yeah, you know, I was just saying. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, who's, I'm not like a committed atheist. It might be something, but they don't help. Mm-hmm. Whoever it is, they don't help. And this woman, her husband had an affair with a woman. They interceded. They saved the marriage. But a year later goes by, and she finds out that he's been keeping the affair going, actually has a split life. It's like half, and he literally was like living a dual life and flipped out. Just couldn't take the duality or whatever, the schizophrenia of it, and just crashed. And this woman is still like, well, I just feel that God can save him. And you just want to go, children are born with cancer.
Yeah.
If God could save anybody, he wouldn't try to get your douchebag husband to keep his dick in his pants.
If God has a schedule and 17 assistants, you're not on the agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the plane crashing into the stands at the air show? If God could scoot stuff around...
Yeah.
It's just like, it's just the narcissism. And it's the people that think that the earth will end during their life. It's the same thing. It's like, been here billions of years, but while I'm here. I don't mind praying, but call it what it is, muttering your want list to an invisible giant.
And that, my friend, brings us to the Larry King game. Mm-hmm. I can't think enough, honest to goodness.
The man who put me in the hospital.
Yeah, yes. Oh, that's right. We didn't. Let's tell the story first, and then we'll do the Larry King game.
Very briefly.
Early on, in the mid-'90s, I think, you were doing a Larry King riff.
I had a 7-minute
big hunk
like
of
a 7-minute bit about Larry King's show, where based on the premise that the more important the first guest, the worse the second guest was. Tonight's guest, former Soviet dissident Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and she has one eye and likes crackers, Sandy Duncan. and then it just, it went, as a, architect of the civil rights movement, Bayard Rustin, also copper. Cumulonimbus clouds and Mickey Dolenz. But I would do this every night for 2 shows a night.
For 7 minutes.
For 7 minutes a stretch. And I blistered my vocal cord.
Literally.
Yeah, literally blistered my vocal cord. Randy Schnittman.
Mm-hmm. The Randy Schnittman.
The Randy Schnittman.
The Dr. Randy Schnittman.
Yeah, I'm sure you know who he is.
Nope.
Oh, my God. He's the Beverly Hills Beverly Hills throat doctor that everybody goes. It's like literally you go into his
I think I know him because I think he came to a show I was doing where I was losing my voice,
I'm
and
sure
they said,
you
"We're
did.
going to get someone who's going to put a shot in your ass, and you're going to be
That's
fine."
Randy. That's Randy. No, I've literally gone into his office and sat next to Neil Diamond, and he.
What are you in for, kid?
Yeah, he was, and he's so show business plugged in. I was talking about. Did you see? I said, I think it was Anchorman. I said, did you see Anchorman? Oh my God, is that funny? He goes, yeah, that came up a lot too. It was long. The first cut was really long.
Oh my God!
But I think he's credited in the movie, and
God.
he's great. And he basically saved my career. He did a surgery and cut it off. My voice came back completely.
That is pretty
Yeah,
astounding.
he did it twice. Actually, twice had to do it.
To the point, so good is he that you can now do Larry King without fear.
I don't do it well. No, I would never do it that. I was doing it the way I did it then. Now I've actually learned how to use my voice. I do it up in my nose.
There you go.
Same thing, but get it out of there, put it up there. You know this, I'm sure.
Yes, barely. All right, the premise again. I want a bad Larry King. It's already there, up in your nose. And then I want that moment where Larry shares something about himself right before he goes to commercial, right before he goes to the phone, rather. And when you go to the phone, if the name of the city is funny sounding, it helps. This, of course, is Larry sharing stuff about himself, not about you. Actually be Larry.
So am
You
I
can go
going to do this cold, or are you going to do one?
You're going to do it cold.
Okay.
It's improvised.
All right.
Which we've proven already today. You have a history and a fondness for.
Yes.
And you can go back to prehistoric times when Larry was,
Right.
a busboy at the original Brontosaurus diner. All the way up to why he has 17 wives. I mean, it runs.
I'm going to go to what I view as the golden age of Larry King.
There's your camera, sir.
circa
Take your time, please.
1991.
And remember, going to the phones is the last thing you do.
Right, now the way I'm thinking of it is he's going to maybe tip the show, share something, go to okay, great.
Please.
Yes. It would be, architect of Boardwalk Empire, Martin Scorsese is going to be joining us in a moment. I once blacked out and killed 6 Texas nurses. Tuscaloosa. Talk to me.
There it is. It's just that simple and just that funny when done correctly.
Yes. I have a wind chime made of the bones of a stripper that people still think is alive and living in Aruba. It gets, the more you do it.
No, go ahead.
You can just
Keep going.
Coco the gorilla. Loved the kitten, but was not in love with the kitten. Tonight I'm joined by 7 balloons of random colors. And Geraldo Rivera's podiatrist. We're gonna go. Steve Buscemi. Just get the tooth fixed. You make a lot of money. I love big girls. I like them big. I want to be rooting around in you and find maybe half a Subway that you thought you'd lost in your car. Sammy Davis Jr. once showed me the inside of his eye socket. That's why they called him the Rat Pack. Every disease I have ever had in my life, I got from Shirley MacLaine.
Everyone!
I can't help but think that Christ's last words on the cross were, I just think there must be a better way to do this.
Oh, no more calls. Pencils down. We have a winner.
Talk about getting a bad rep. Diarrhea. Can't catch a break. It's never good news when you talk about doing something all over yourself. And now I'll end with the joke that I made up earlier today.
Please.
You know, I have a little side project going. I've been working on an invention, and I've been slaving over it for months. And it's something, you know, YouTube. The guy that invented YouTube made $300 million. And I have a nice gig here, and I'm very happy. I love talking to people. But I want I want the big money. You want the big money. I want the big money. So I have this invention. Something every guy would want. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my months in the... I get it. I figure it out. And I talked to my patent lawyer. And darn it, if somebody didn't beat me to it. Apparently it's called a vagina. I called mine a hot, wet pocket.
Nova Scotia, hello.
Nova Scotia, you have a question for Leslie West.
Oh, thank you.
Backman and Turner, who was Overdrive? What happened to Overdrive?
Why do we never meet? The drummer. Overdrive.
What happened to him?
Little Stevie Overdrive.
Keith Richards, you were not only great, but as the host of Tales from the Crypt, I loved you. Marv Albert will jerk off into anything.
A new king stings.
St. Paul.
Oh, man. That is what we like to call around these parts genius.
That's what we call
oh, gosh.
A man in a lot of need.
Yeah, you're horrible at this. You can't do this at all.
This is my
This is
wheelhouse.
not in your bailiwick.
This is my wheelhouse.
Oh, man. Thank you
If
so
you
much.
could ever melt a Reese cup, here's what you do. You gotta melt a Reese cup over. Have you ever done, Kevin? Have you ever done this?
Tell me.
You know, I'm from Brooklyn, and we didn't have fancy microwaves. The first thing I did when I got a microwave, you melt a Reese cup over a custard donut, and you use it to get a fat chick. And I love the fat chick. I once had a 2-year affair with Toady Field's prosthetic leg. That Toady was completely in the dark about it.
She would take it off. I would sneak in.
As I would call.
Is she asleep? The leg would say nothing.
You know what gives me hope? This is what gives me hope, Kevin.
What?
People say to Larry, you do the show, don't you get, you're in the news all the time. Don't you get depressed? Don't you get, I never give up hope because of the human spirit, Kevin. Stephen Hawking. The guy, Kevin, the guy, he can't talk.
No.
He can't walk. He can't move. Outside of that chair, the guy can't move. And he still figured out a way to cheat on his wife. He would not be bound by the chains of circumstance. He's got this brain, and he got caught. Smartest guy in the world got caught. In case you think you might get away with it. Guy that figured out how time started, forgot to delete his inbox. And he's got this brain that goes on, his brain, Kevin, his brain goes on 2 levels.
Does it?
He's at one point he's thinking, he's with his friends going, in the vacuum of space, the implosion of a star creates a negative ion pulse. Guys, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. Either somebody shoplifting cantaloupe or a genie just granted my wish. Where was I? Oh, yes, the implosion of a star. But he can't explain. 3 times he got caught. He must have baby. You gotta believe me on a keyboard shortcut. God. F2, I was drunk. F3, you've been talking to your friends too much. F4, how's your All right, I'll stop.
I'm hearing in that voice, guys, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
What a weird booty call. My wife died about pound. Do you know who it is? Yes, no, I know who it is. I'm only dating one guy on one of those machines. I've met him 3 times.
What?
I've met Stephen Hawking.
You buried the
3
lead.
times. He would come to The Simpsons. He was in L.A. at UCLA doing a fellowship or something, and he loved The Simpsons. And he came to a table read.
Right.
And you meet him, and you're told Dr. Hawking.
Right.
And then I came in the next week. And there he was again. And that came in the third week, and I was like, does he fucking work here?
And he ends up on the show, and somebody asked that stupid question. Did he voice it himself? No, somebody pushed the button, and the same machine said, "I'll have the cans."
But he did do his.
He did the push the button,
Yes,
though.
he did. Yes, he did.
Man.
Yes, he did.
Fantastically perfect.
Just show that part.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Honest to God, thank you. I haven't cried like that in a very long time.
That's good.
Since yesterday when you saw The Lion King.
Since I saw The Lion King, have I not cried? That's twice in 2 days, you're absolutely right. But both times, happy tears.
Circle of life.
That was indeed the circle of life just now. Sit there uncomfortably, if you wouldn't mind, while I wrap things up here for the folks at home and around all the seas that there are surrounding the ships they're in. What?
Hello.
Next week, as I mentioned earlier, James L. Brooks. We've got some wonderful shows. Virginia Madsen, Ivan Reitman. We have none of which can do Larry King like that. But good luck to them telling us their life. Check the site for the schedule of who's coming up in the near future. Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec.
Great.
As well. Boy, he's
So funny.
crazy funny.
So funny.
And bringing such new music to a familiar rhythm. Which is always
Well
nice
put.
to see.
Well put.
Every now and
Sam
then.
and Nick Offerman on that show, too.
Sat here, love.
Oh.
Love.
Amazing.
Builds canoes.
I know.
Just saying.
From scratch.
Yeah. Well, from a tree.
Yeah.
I want to thank the people outside these hallowed walls. Of course, there's a...
That's why his life, when you build your own canoes, I can sum up your life in 3 words.
Please.
Avalanche of pussy. You get that homemade canoe trim.
I want to thank Jason N2 for sitting in for the now fired Sam Levine.
Oh.
Never to be seen again, Sam Levine. Love you both.
Love you.
And your perfectly mismatched glasses. J-Mac for taking the helm with a missing Mike Rotman and Emily Goodwin. Jimmy Ewing out there filling in, of course, doing a hell of a job. And Josh Legren. Dr. Chen here. We'll see you all next week. And until then, and as always, get out of my face.